Right now, it's
Really lay into that thing, Natalie.
I'm sorry.
So really lay into that
Oh
thing.
my gosh.
That's curious.
Ready, Tina?
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go. We're ready. Welcome, everyone, to the Bethel Local Schools Tuesday, January 14th, Board of Education organizational meeting. As the President Pro Tem, I will call the meeting to order, and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us in saying. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's not.
Please hold.
Technical difficulties. All right, thank you. Do we need to do it again? Or we do? No, we don't need to do it again, correct?
No, it'll go.
Okay, it was brought to my attention that we do not have an item for adopting the agenda. And we do have one at the end for approving it.
We got one for the consent agenda. I know what you're,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but-
it was recommended that we add that as section 2.A.1 for adopt the agenda. And in addition, it was recommended also to add section 2.A.2 for public participation for agenda items only. Is there any other discussion on the agenda from the board? Public participation for agenda items only. Okay. No further or no additional discussion? Tina, will you call the roll for the 2025 Board of Education?
Sure. Mrs. Butler? Here. Mrs. Donahue? Here. Mrs. Kiplinger?
Here.
Mrs. Leskowitz? Here. Mr. B?
Here.
Thank you. We will, sorry, get kind of here. So I have to switch here for a second. Okay. So for item 2.A.1, adopt the agenda. Is there anybody else that would like to, well, first we should make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll move.
Is there a second for that, please?
I'll second.
Is there any other just last minute discussion for any other items? Ms. Tina, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
So item 2.A.2 for public participation, agenda items only. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak, who maybe didn't know this was going to be on the agenda, if you haven't filled out a form, if you would like to after you speak, just so we can have record of that, please. Yes.
Sure.
She already filled it out.
It's already
Yeah.
filled out.
Oh, okay.
No, but that was for the
Oh, I thought there was two of them. No?
I can put it, I'll put on their organizational and regular. Is that okay, or do you want to fill out?
No,
another?
I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, agenda and. Got it. Okay, so it's three.
So yeah, I mean. I don't have notes for this, of course, but I do have some thoughts on some things. I just wanted to give you a little background. Since you can let me. So one is under the board compensation. It used to be there was a cap for 12 meetings. I noticed in this one, it didn't say there was a cap. But what I was gonna suggest, if there was a place to talk, was maybe raise that a little bit because everybody else has gone up, but the board, that went down when the economy went bad and the school was in trouble. So it got cut way back. So I don't know if you want to cap it at more meetings or raise it. But that was one thought. And then the approval of a resolution authorizing the superintendent to treasurer to serve as purchasing agent. So a little history, I think that's the one with the $50,000, $25,000 for supplies and operating and 50,000 for construction.
Yes.
Okay, that's right on. So the 50,000 for construction was put in there because we were building the K-5. And at the time, it was to get the superintendent the authority in case the architect or construction manager or builder came and said, oh, we need money for this or that. So because we only had meetings once a month then as well, that gave him the authority, or him, I guess it's time, the authority to go ahead and spend that money. But we don't have that situation anymore. So I don't know if you need that or need it to be that high. So my only concern is what happened with Superintendent Ferks when everybody drove up here and all of a sudden there was a new building in the backyard. And, you know, does it fit in with the strategic plan? Like, should we just, maybe the vision would be to spend money on new classroom space? I don't know, but I'm just telling you that was the history, was because of the K-5. And we wanted to give them a way to pay intermittent bills. And then the other thing was, I don't remember which one this was under, but there was a line about hiring people, accepting resignations, and transferring or promoting between meetings. And my feeling on that is, I think if it's an emergency situation, that's a good idea, but I don't think that should be used as a rule. And I don't know why the promoting and transferring would be need to be in there, because there's no emergency for that. The resignation, I mean, I would say go ahead and accept it, because we don't want people here that don't want to be here. And it doesn't really affect anything, but the other stuff, I think maybe the board needs to be involved up front if it's not an emergency, because you can't after the fact say no, right? That was the three things I remember. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other presidents to speak during the public participation? If not, we'll close that. And then we'll move into item 2B, the election and swearing in of president and vice president for 2025.
Just the election, not swearing.
Yeah, I took
Yeah,
out the
I'm
swearing
sorry.
in.
Yeah, my apologies for reading that. Yeah, to mark it off. Thank you. I'm going to read this. Any board member may nominate someone for office. Members may nominate themselves. Nominations do not require seconds. Nominations will be closed by the president pro tem, and then an oral vote will be taken. The process will be done twice, first for the president and then for the vice president. When the election for the president is over, the meeting will proceed with the newly elected president presiding. So I'd like to open the floor for nominations for president.
I'll nominate Jackie Leskowicz for president.
Thank you, Andy.
I'd like to nominate Natalie Donahue for president.
Thank you, Rachel. Now that the nominations have been, is there any others first before we close the nominations on the floor? Seeing none, I'd like to ask Jackie if you would accept your nomination. Thanks. And I will accept my nomination as well. And at this point, since there are two nominees on the floor for the position of president of the board, the vote will be as followed. When Tina calls the vote, you will say either Jackie or Natalie for your vote. And a majority of 3 will be the new president. So
Any comment?
sorry.
Sorry,
Thank you.
sorry.
No, thank you for reminding
I'm
me.
just curious.
Is there any discussion that anybody would like to have? Or any comments, or if you have anything you want to say, or?
So I would like to say that I'm just kind of reiterating what I said last month. I do think it is important to have a new face. As a board, I feel like we are very much on the same page. I think that we're going in the same direction, but I think it is good to give a fresh perspective with a new, different president, some shared leadership. And I think that you can still have that consistency with a new person. So that's my 2 cents.
I'd like just to say that it would be an honor and an opportunity for me after attending board meetings since the year 2000. And then also being that I've now completed 3 years of service on the board, that I should probably carry my fair weight and step up and be the board president, offer to be the board president, if that is anybody's desire. So I just wanted to say that I would also give an equal voice and to everyone and make sure that all the information that is disseminated is done in an equal, identical, and timely manner so that everybody is working from the same page. And that way we can all continue to move forward. We made great strides in 2024 and I know we'll do the same. So that is what I would hope that for any of us. So thank you very much. So, okay. Tina, is there any other last minute discussions? Any other comments? I'll close for that.
Okay,
Tina,
so you want me to read each name and that they'll vote?
if you would read the each board member's
Mhm.
name, and the board member should either give Jackie's first name or my first name, if that's okay, and then you will take that down, please.
Okay, Mrs. Donahue.
Natalie.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Natalie,
Mrs. Butler,
Jackie.
Mrs. Leskowicz,
Jackie.
Mr. B.
Jackie.
Thank you. With the majority of 3 votes to 2, Miss Jackie Leskowicz is the newly appointed or elected, president. And she will assume the chairmanship at this point, and I will be happy to pass over the gavel. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And so now we're gonna go on to nominations for vice president. I'd like to nominate Reagan.
I would like to nominate Rachel, please, for vice president.
Do you have any other nominations? Any discussion? You take the roll, please.
Sure. Mrs. Donahue,
Rachel.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Rachel.
Mrs. Butler,
Reagan.
Mrs. Leskowicz,
Reagan.
Mr. B.
Reagan.
Great. So, thank you. We have Vice President Reagan Butler. And now we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, is the standing committee assignments. Yeah, all right, so now we're going on to the next item on the agenda, which is the committees and liaisons. And so I think at this point, I'll just open up for discussion if anyone wants to kick off their thoughts on everything on the list. Maybe we'll go through, I did have some comments I want to start with liaisons, so maybe we'll touch base on liaisons first and go into committees, which that sounds good with everybody.
I'll continue with the MVCTC liaison, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, I guess I'm even questioning, do we want to continue with these 3? I guess would be my first question.
Yes, I think so.
I think so.
I mean, I'm okay with those 3
it's
liaisons.
important information to get.
Okay, so I was just going off of, so we're gonna go into committees and we're gonna have to start getting more people involved in that. So, I guess my thinking was with the OSB legislative liaison, No, I mean, we all get the email for that, so we all get made aware of that. And then nothing can really happen until it's written into law anyways. And then once it's written into law, it'll become policy. So the efforts that we exhausted on that perhaps would be spent more on these committees that hopefully that will stand up. And then the CTC, that's also good information. That only affects a small part of our district. And that's just information about what's going on over the CTC. So, for these three, I was thinking perhaps that information could be posted on a dashboard of some sort on the website. So if people are curious about what's going on at the CTC, they can just go out to the dashboard, or it can be included in the weekly bullet, or not the weekly, but the news bulletin. I think we put out quarterly. Is that right? Quarterly for the bulletin. And
Mhm.
then the student activities, that's good information to have as well, but again, that's just talking about what's going on in the district. None of these really provide any decision-making information per se for the board. And I'm assuming it's a lot of work for you or whoever's gonna be to do all that. Right.
So could, Mr. Nudge, so
Mhm.
could these liaisons be incorporated into a into a standing committee as part of the standing committee's work?
Not the committees that exist. I don't think they fit.
You don't think they
I
fit?
mean, like policy, finance,
You know,
so like academic. Yeah, here's another, God, give you my 2 cents.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's why I-
It's almost been 15 minutes, I've said a word,
Okay.
right? It's a long time for me. Gathering the information and saying here is good, but the dashboard piece, like, what if you did, I could talk to Jacob, what if, because I think people would be able to see it all the time from month to month. You know what I mean? Like, we can do the report. I'm not saying you can do the report, take the report, put it on the website as an update. Because I mean, I got to thinking about that when I'm listening to you talk right now, I'm thinking, okay, we say this at a board meeting, unless you're watching the board meeting or read the minutes, you don't see it. So we could say, okay, give me that liaison report, we upload it to Dr. Jacob, we upload it to, a site on our website, people will give them a place to look at it. The thought.
So will we be updating that then more frequently than once a month? On a dashboard?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I think we would take your reports from a liaison standpoint. I mean, we update things that are important.
Right,
I mean, but I'm
Yeah.
saying as in general, here's an update from, this spot, or here's an update from this spot, or, from the liaison side. Not necessarily OSBA, I don't think.
but I can see the CTC would be good because it's hard to find that information on the CTC website.
But once you become familiar with it, and if
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the time to put it on the dashboard, I might as well I can bring it to the meeting as well.
Yeah,
Well, but I wonder too, like, so we do like the important dates.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
because that's kind of the same thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
true.
Mhm.
so like, could we incorporate the CTC information into the important dates?
Oh, good point.
Because they're still Bethel students,
Right,
so, I don't know, that's just a
But
thought.
that's a
If
good,
it's
that's a good
upcoming,
thought.
yeah, that is a good point. If it's upcoming, rather than talk about, okay, the musical was last weekend, and I'm not saying none of that's not important. I
Correct.
mean, it's all good stuff or whatnot, but we just.
But ahead of it.
And this is a board meeting for school business. It's not to get news out to everybody about what happened at Bethel last week. And with that one, the student activities, could we get the podcast club to report on it? Could that be another project where they go around and do some sort of interview, like, I don't know, like on whatever they got going on. I don't know what their vision is for moving forward, but like the thing at Christmas, that was fantastic.
Yeah, they're working on things for the second half of the year.
Yeah, and they can interview some people,
Uh-huh.
maybe some people that were in the sporting event the night before, whatever.
like I said, I
that
think-
week, or-
I think that, over the years, I always said, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will tell it for you, right?
Yeah.
And it's always good to get our word out. Because that's what's going on here, right? Actually, not what
Right.
people think's going on. I think that's always important, I always said, the first thing somebody hears is what they believe.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you get that information out. I mean, and Jacob, Watson and I are starting, we're gonna do a little segment called 60 Seconds with the Superintendent, start next Friday, see how that goes, little video, talk about each week update, things like that. And then, he's working on the different podcast things, but I think there's room for these to be used, right? And I think there's ways to make them even more effective as you put the work in for people to see that remain
Yeah.
online, right? So to speak, instead of just a meeting,
Yeah.
snapshot in time. Then we just update it again. Next, we
Yeah.
update it again the following. I
Like
just-
to zhuzh it up and make it look,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some, we've been working some things on the website. We've been doing some different things behind the scenes and, I think it's a good idea. Like I said, the more information you get out there, the better. I don't want it to be too busy. It look like, you turn it on, it's like, whoa, where do I go? But I mean, there's ways to do that, make it user friendly. More graphics are good.
And if that was the case, if they were to take on like the student activity, that could be broadcast during the meeting in that section, so whoever was doing it wouldn't have to necessarily present it.
right.
It'd be like, okay, now for the student activity, and
Tina would run a video.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of neat things you can do. Yeah.
That's really who it's about.
Here we are, right?
Live and
Other tab.
Tuesday night. Exactly.
There's our Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And then let's put it
It's a
into
good-
the students' hands.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting
people like to
those
see that.
guys-
Yeah. I mean, you can limit them, you got 2 minutes or whatever,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and they can get
Right.
that experience.
Mhm.
I can say, here you go.
Yeah.
So Jacob, if you're listening, let's chat. This week.
Pastors.
Put it on your to-do list.
We've got, we're getting together soon anyway, so, in fact, we talked yesterday, so yeah, I mean, I think. That is something that, and I've also been, over the years, I've also noticed that. People would rather watch a video than read. I mean, it's just.
It's a sad fact.
No, yeah.
I'd rather listen than, like, that's why we started doing some of the things I did in the past, because, you send emails or news, now I would send videos. They're like, oh, this is great, I can watch it on the way to work, or I can, not that you should do that. But I recommend it.
Listen.
Yeah, listening to-
Listen to it while you're way to work, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that kind of stuff, I think, no, if you're over that, I mean, I can, massage that a little bit and see what that looks like and get back to, I mean, whoever wants to do that, but talk, like, if you're gonna do CTC, like, I could talk to you and say, hey, listen, here's the activities, this is what, you can have Jacob do like a pod, something like that, a video, whatever, boom, there it goes, and it goes to the website.
What is
We'll put you in it. You can introduce it.
Natalie, live and live.
But, no, I mean, that's,
Natalie, I gotta broadcast it, you can. We'll do it
One
together.
team, one fight.
Watching video is great. Watching video of a kid doing something is even.
Yes.
because the Christmas video was cool.
It
I
was
said that to you, but it was
a
neat.
fantastic job, and it's more experience for them, and it's more, and then get their input too, and see, I mean, sure, they can brainstorm. some
Just so
ideas.
you know, our long-term goals are, we'd like to have a radio station or a TV station here with the kids, and we would broadcast like announcements in the morning. and
Yeah.
We'd have a show, and I mean,
Or even the games, couldn't they broadcast the games?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't we get? that
Family
information?
Feud, Junior.
We've done that
Citizens.
before.
They used to do that.
They did.
And that might all push them down
That'd be
towards
good.
a career path of some sort too, so.
well, yeah, I've said this before, I mean, I don't know much about podcasts, but my youngest daughter works for a podcast company. I mean, it's
Not
I
great.
don't know what you do, but it looks cool. But, it's, I just think that, I think that, no, I like the ideas, it's a good thought. I mean, we're changing some things, so.
Yeah.
And we're getting to that position where we can start going above and beyond doing some of the stuff where before we just treading water and.
Yeah, I think we're swimming now. We're not floating around, getting pushed around by the waves. We're swimming. We're going forward. So,
We're out of the riptide.
yeah, no red flags in our future.
So does that sound like a good way forward, those three?
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely like to try that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you still need a liaison, right, to coordinate it, but
Mhm.
we can We can hook in the Jacob and the podcasting crew and things like that.
Yeah. Touch base. What do you got going on?
Does anyone else want to switch up the liaison that they were before, or? You guys wanna-
Yeah, I just need to know who they are, so I can coordinate.
Do we even need an OSBA? I mean, I don't think that we do,
Not in
because
my
I mean,
opinion.
I do agree with you in that
We all get-
we all get the same information.
Yeah.
I guess if there's questions, then that the
Yeah.
community has, they can reach out to one of us or Mr. Nutter or.
Yeah, I
something,
think
you know,
between us and me.
I'm not sure how many people really care.
Yeah, or yeah.
I haven't gotten a lot of calls about OSBA, legal,
I mean, you know.
They pass it, they change it within.
I know.
So.
And it's never, whatever, doesn't mean that whatever it is, but once it becomes law is what we care about.
Right, right.
What their thoughts
What they're thinking
Yeah.
about doesn't necessarily matter. It's just
and
what
we
they've
get all
done.
those updates,
Right.
right? We get them from Yola, we get them from the OSBA, I get them from BASA, I mean, we get from like 3-4
We get them from
outlets.
every place.
So, I mean, I don't,
Take it off.
yeah, I don't think that that's necessary. I don't think
Okay.
anybody's
On the
gonna be,
dashboard.
I don't think anybody's gonna be missing that
How are you
information.
gonna make that
I
exciting?
know, I know.
If our email blows up tonight, I'll let you know.
Exactly.
You're taking a OSBA.
Yeah.
That's why I took it in.
Of course.
And then Natalie, you said that you'd like to.
I mean,
You see,
I'll continue unless, somebody else wants to.
I think that's still good information to have.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, if we can, incorporate that into important dates or
Well,
upcoming events or whatever.
it keeps
we're
it
doing.
relevant, right? It's
Yeah.
just not one night. If you're not watching this or
Right,
reading minutes, I don't
right.
think a lot of people go back and read minutes either. So,
But I think, to be honest with you, I think the guidance counselors pretty much track it for the school better than probably I will. But
we can ask the guys,
we can.
that's part of it,
We can,
right?
yeah, we'll work on
Well,
that.
isn't that part of, that could be part of the liaison, part of the, making sure.
Yeah, I talk to them all the time anyway, so. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're
I mean,
finishing.
yeah,
up.
Making sure the word's getting out.
Yeah,
And if we find we don't need liaison, we'll just
yeah.
stop providing a liaison. Good.
I mean, they probably need information about Bethel to go to the CTC kids more
More
than
than-
we need the CTC information to come, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yes.
Which they'll get now.
Right, so
That's right.
it needs to be
Yeah, I
a
think you're
two-way.
Right.
But they need, because that's always been a complaint or a concern, that the CTC kids aren't always getting the Bethel information as it's coming up and activities are happening and
And they're
whatnot.
out of the loop.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they'll have it. That's a good idea.
So
Yes,
I like that.
I like that. That's
maybe we have a kid at CTC that's doing
this kind of thing. Yeah.
broadcasting or something like that, that could
That-
hop on and.
Yeah, that he
do
could be,
work.
yeah, that he could be the CTC.
The
Yeah.
CTC rep, you know,
We were looking it up and it does say, I looked up, liaisons required for state public boards in
Uh-huh.
Ohio. It does say here that each of Ohio's public school boards should appoint one member at the January organizational meeting to serve as its district's legislative liaison. Each school district should inform OSBA of the appointment as soon as possible.
Sure.
This appointment should be reflected on the OSBA roster.
There you go.
So I think it's just for
For
in case they need to
OSBA.
contact
Yeah.
OSBA.
Should.
Oh,
It
yeah.
should.
So
Three names to our-
Good.
Rachel is the delegate.
Have to.
Yeah, so.
She was the delegate.
You want me to report your name?
You're getting-
Sure.
You should.
I should.
Good.
I mean,
Thank you.
it doesn't mean I have to give a formal report every month, it
No,
just means
No, it
that
just
I'm
means you
a
gotta put
point
somebody's name
person.
in.
They got your name.
Right,
They
it's got my
They
name.
got your name.
What else is it?
Yeah.
They have all our names in it. Great.
Great. Now they really
At
got
this
you.
table, they have us all listed.
Right,
Yeah.
believe it, yeah.
But thank you, appreciate that.
Oh, it does say you are required to appoint.
Well, we
Yeah, we
did.
did.
We
We're,
did.
we're pointing.
Okay.
We're all legal now.
They're all pointing at me.
Yeah.
We're all going to get yourself in trouble.
Thank you. We're
There's one
all
team fight here.
appointing you.
Yeah. All right, But
Some
we
people
won't be
aren't smart.
expecting any kind of feedback from
Right,
you.
okay, good.
Mike and I
Unless
get
there's
so
something-
many emails as well,
Unless
so
there's something
we're in it with you,
super-
Rachel.
Yes.
Mike and I will be in it with
There you
you.
go.
Okay,
Oh, there
good,
you
good.
go.
We get them all the time.
Yeah,
And
we
we'll-
get them all the time.
We'll, yeah, we'll give them jazz hands. Really great going on.
And then we have student activities. Do you want to be the
I love
point of
that.
contact? The point of contact?
Yeah, but
You
nobody else wants to do it. I like to do that.
Okay.
We'll do the same.
I will say you're the most thorough we've had.
Yeah.
Not tonight. I took to some rules.
Yeah.
But again, we won't be expecting you to.
No,
back brief
I'm
us
just
and
gonna get
everything.
in touch with the kids
Yes.
and say, hey, did you get that done?
Yeah.
Here's Jacob, here he comes.
Oh, here's Jacob.
We
He's like,
can-
wait a minute.
His ears are burning.
He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I think we have a good plan there. And then the next ones will be all the committees.
Yeah, so, some of these I was asked to add, some of these I've had before in the past, just, I mean, here's my feel on, committees, right? I think it's important that if you so choose, the board to stay in touch with certain aspects of the school district, whether it's technology, facilities. Facilities sort of an asterisk now, but I'll come back to that one. Academic, which is curriculum, the policy, you're going to see tonight, there's a lot of policy on the agenda. I mean, it's a lot. And we were behind the 8 ball when I got here. This is the fall update from 24. I mean, we just went through. So I'm trying to get us caught up. So I apologize, but it's a lot of policy, right? And the second part of the policy, we don't have any choice in. I'll explain that later as well. But, the policy committee, that's somebody, I would sit on that obviously because I do a lot of policy. I was reading it today. One of you board members could be on that, and that'd be something that, the two of us could sit and go through, right? And say, here, take a look at this, take a look, thoughts, this and that, and then we can come present to the board on a first reading, if you will, and then a second reading. But then we've already hashed through some of this. I mean, a lot of this, I think we're pretty much on the same page here. We may we go to the same spot, we go a different road, but we get there. So I think that's part of the policy committee. The finance, I've always had finance committee, usually one board member meets with the treasurer. There you go, Tina, and you're welcome. But they get an update and, sort of where we're at with finances, what's going on, and you come back and say, just report out to that. The academic is more curriculum academic, what are we, your questions about, Bow and Sal, for example, what do you want to do about that? Those kinds of, instead of having it, or get some closures, input, what you want to do. Obviously it's up to you. I don't care what committees you have. I'm gonna do all these things anyway, but like I said, if you wanted to do this, those are some things that are typical committees in schools. Now, the facilities committee, that, I know that now you've got the board, like the facilities committee right before, but with everything going on, and we've said this before, we all agreed to this. The facility committee you can have, but as we establish, when we talk about, the overview and the expansion, and so this needs to be a full board discussion moving forward as, we sit here, right? I'll get into this in the regular meeting, but, for example, the educational planners that come down here, they've got a lot of things to explain to us and show us, right? I would like the full board to hear that, just not a committee. So that's my gist on committees. I think they're, I think they really are part of the strategic plan. We've got things moving. We're moving on. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna drive the bus. We're not gonna ride the bus. Have things dealt to me. I like to be able to deal them. So I think those are important things to go by. So, if there's something that you want to be on, or if you don't think you need them, that's up to you. I've sat on some of these committees with the board member and the other people on staff. So it's something that you can think about. I can decide now, you can decide next month. Something to think about. That's my 2 cents.
I love it.
I do too. And I reached out to the OSBCC, that I got some friends, I'm on their executive board, and then we meet like once a month and stuff, and then there's some mentors on there, and then they have a Telegram chat group and everything. And they said the 3 that are you must have on any school board would be the academic, policy and finance. So, but I've always, even since I've been on the board, I've always wanted a policy one, and do like policy.
You can do it.
So I can do it.
And I nominate, and I nominate.
Okay, so,
But we don't have to appoint anybody tonight if we
Yeah.
don't want. If you just want to soak this in, think about it, we can go over and kind of like what, Mike had said, how he envisions how that'll work, what we talk about, what we do. But instead of 5 people reading 40 policies on tonight's agenda, we'd have the committee, and it could be more people. We can get parents on there, we can get teachers on there, principals. I mean, it's not a 2-man operation or 3-person. We can have 2 board members. Well, you can have all kinds of stuff like that. You can identify what you want. We can get volunteers and it's stakeholders too. It's not always just parents. If there's stakeholders in the district, that if there's local businesses and they want to get involved and stuff, that they can be on it. But our policies should be lined up with our strat plan. So once we get our strat plan done, then we should be able to fully look at all of our policies. And there's some, if you go through them, if you like that kind of thing, there's some old ones on there that haven't been touched in years, and they probably don't even really match with what we're even doing now. And I envision, as far as the policy committee goes, the first task that they would do is first we get our strat plan, but then we'd also look through all the policies and start chunk by chunk, whether we do it by bylaws and then the 1000 series, 2000 or whatever, and go through every one and then verify that they're needed, they're correct, or how we want it, because yes, Neola writes some and they do the drop downs, but there's nothing stopping us from either adding our own policies if we feel we need one, or fine tuning whatever drop down they used. So when it comes to policy committee, that's what I envision.
Yeah, and like some of these are just old, right? You just tell them, oh, we don't use them, we don't need them, they archive them.
Right.
So,
So Mike, are you suggesting that the standing committee, are you talking about an administrative committee versus a board committee? Is that, there's a
Yeah.
difference? Isn't
yeah,
there?
because if it's a board committee, like,
Then it's
so you
sunshine
gotta
law.
I gotta have a board meeting like, for every committee, and nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to hide anything, it's
Right.
just, I've never had board committees.
Because, you know,
I mean, you can have them, we have them here, but I'm just saying, I've never had that before, but these are more just, I mean, we're not,
these are
this isn't,
administrative.
this isn't top secret stuff, right? This isn't NSA stuff, it's facilities, it's academics,
Yeah.
it's policy, it's finance, I mean, it's all public record anyway.
And then the chair person would come to the board and brief the whole board. So then that would be in public, and that'd be the public part of it. So,
And you're still gonna read the policy, we're still gonna do a first reading,
Right,
second
right.
reading, but
There's
now
no-
instead of us going through 800 policies for the first time together, you gotta question, well, this is what the policy committee, this is, we think this, then you can all vote on it, or have the discussion. But if you don't think, if you don't see things, like I don't expect all of us to go through this tonight either. I mean, there's a lot on there, but I'm trying to get us caught up. But I mean, that is, from a committee standpoint, like the academic, I've had, like for technology committee, I've had tech director, a board member, and sometimes it's somebody from a business, right? From, what's kind of tech do kids need when they come out? So it sort of bleeds into the curriculum side, right? Okay, well, I mean, it's just not a school thing.
Yeah.
It sort of gives you open eyes. So,
it would be nice if we can get down that path where we may even partner with local companies. So like, I know like Hobart, as far as that goes with welding, that there's a partnership between the school and the local business where they do some sort of education portion that way too and whatnot. And by getting a stakeholder in on the technology committee, plus I think that there's so much more we could be doing. We could get into drones. We're already starting, the podcast started with a club, but I think that that's going to evolve into a classroom. I mean, I think that AI, all that kind of training.
yeah, I mean, AI, drones, and, we sent, middle school to CTC this week,
Mhm.
and they pushed, a lot of different things and, all good stuff. But, how do we tie it in and how do we make it worthwhile?
And it's all interconnected. I mean, technology, it doesn't stand alone. It can be interwoven with our academic and it's all together, because you could have an intro to STEM,
Mhm.
class that's not as intense as.
And we're talking right now about adding a STEM teacher for next year. So
Yeah.
we'll have 2 here. So it's discussion.
And
One
then
of them.
the school I graduated from, they have a whole like technology center, and they made those STEM classes mandatory, I think, when they're freshmen and coming in, and they're doing stuff like, 3D printing, they're making chessboards and stuff, like really nice, really neat chessboards, and they're finding that they made those mandatory classes, and they're getting people, interested, and a lot of the girls interested in some of the stuff that they typically would have never taken or never even tried had it not been mandatory, so we can start building up our curriculum, like you said, that twines with the academic, where maybe we can have quarterly classes, where they one quarter, some kind of
We
STEM.
used to have, remember when we used to have those in middle school eons ago? Might have been before you kids, might have been like Will's age.
What did you say?
Quarterly classes in middle, in junior high.
Oh, like just a half a day
It was just
semester?
a 9
Yeah,
weeks,
yeah.
not 9 weeks course,
Yeah,
that was just,
maybe.
Ashton might have been at the tail end of that.
Yeah,
yeah, Right, and then you had, shop, and you had, I think, study skills and something else. I forget. Anyway,
But, you know.
yeah, as an exploratory kind of
Mhm.
thing for middle school, so.
So that's what I'm thinking that, and then, like you said, the facilities committee, I don't know if we still want that one identified as a facilities committee, and then what, if you guys want that, or like we said, with the growth for right now, perhaps once that balances out, or if we didn't have the growth, then I could see the facilities committee, but now that we're all doing all of the growth stuff as an entire board, I don't know.
Well, I could take some time and put together some lessons learned from our experience from when we had this building and we had the other building. That's when they were most useful. I think I don't have that list, at hand right now, or in my mind actually, but there were some good things that came from that, and the lessons learned, I think, could be applied moving forward. And the idea was to engage the community, and we can do that a number of ways, right? And also the teachers and staff, of course, and make sure we had adequate input to know how we wanted to move forward as a community, not just a board. So,
Absolutely.
and then, but part of that was also getting local expertise, subject matter experts, if you will, in heating and plumbing, that could make sure some of the other work was being continued adequately. And so I know we've got some things in the mix, but I don't know why we couldn't continue both. And again, it's just something to think about. I know that we're gonna have, I think in February, they're gonna come in and give us a report maybe, and then we
Maybe
can
before
see.
that, we'll talk about that at the regular.
Okay, yeah, but maybe we'll see.
Yes.
What the next step is. I'd like to see it continue. Of course, we can always refine it, but it just might be something, I don't want to throw it out yet. And keep it on the table, we can discuss a little later once we see what it looks like, some of the activities that are, the work coming down the road, if you will, or the plans.
And I agree 100% on the lessons learned. It's not
Yeah, that's a good.
make the same mistakes twice and start thinking forward about the next development. So, anybody want to have more discussion? Everybody on board with committees that are identified? Thoughts, questions?
So how often do you think the committees would be meeting?
Oh, I think, once or twice a month. I mean, it's not a lot. It's an admin, it's an admin committee, not necessarily a board committee. Just, you're gonna get together with me on policy, right? We're gonna go over, we're gonna get together with Jason and somebody else maybe on technology or, somebody meets with Tina on finance. Somebody, the facilities, like I said, that's more of a board thing from where we're at, but.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I just think that, I don't think it's a lot. I just think it's nice to get eyes on it, get your feedback, and good ideas come out of conversation.
Yeah.
So, and you hear things that I don't hear, and I hear things that you don't hear. And, across the board, so it's good to have that dialogue.
I've had finance committees at previous districts. I know the laws sort of changed a little bit, so we'll have to check and see if committee meetings have to be public or not, if they're board appointed, superintendent appointed. I can't recall exactly, but, the past finance committees that I've been involved in that I thought worked really well were, a couple board members, teachers, part of the, BEA, as well as any classified staff that had an interest in learning and being part of that, as well as community members. So I've had committees that were 8 to 10 people, and certainly welcome that opportunity here as well. So,
And that's why we want to keep it as an admin committee for the flexibility, and you can just call up everybody and say, can we all meet at 4 or whatever the thing is, and like I said, then the chairperson will come and brief the board. And
the only thing that, I think, in this is just my 2 cents, is you just have to make sure that you are getting a good slice of the community, right? A representation of the community. We don't want the same people on each committee, and then they're coming here 3, 4, 5 times a month, so it's try to get that community involvement is something I've had difficulty in the past, but,
Yeah, we
so
can get people here.
we'll get people here, then it's gonna be
I think it's
fine.
finance side too, a community member, for the simple fact that, like, school finance is complicated, right? What's the middle, how much money does it generate? Why do you need it? I mean, people don't know that what past 5 years ago, we're still collecting the same amount 5 years ago,
Right.
When everything else has went up. I mean, it's a good tutorial, if you will, because school finance is different than regular finance, so
It's what I do.
it is.
I'm fine with it. Done
Well,
it in the
you're
past.
just the bear of all sorts of good things, aren't you, Ms. Campbell? What do you have for us?
We hear it. Let's hear
I
it.
feel like I'm at a rock concert,
You say something.
Okay.
No administrative committees for public schools in Ohio do not have to be a board member. However, any prearranged discussion of public business by a majority of a committee members is considered a meeting.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
yeah, so we're good. Thank you, appreciate that. Just so helpful.
Thanks for clearing my
Keep
name.
it, keep it on the track, Mrs. Campbell, that's why we love you.
Position on the board.
Signed up for the policy committee.
Yeah.
I already was gonna volunteer.
Keep Google handy.
Okay.
So are we just supposed to kind of think about this, or are we
It's up
supposed
to
to
you. I
kind
mean,
of
if
throw
it-
out what,
if you want
we
them,
have
great.
any
If you
interest,
don't-
or like, I'm not sure what the expectation is today.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to pressure anybody into like making a decision now, but like Natalie, you've been the facility chair, and if you enjoy doing it, and if that's something you already know you want to continue to do, and you have the lessons learned and all that, I mean.
Yeah, I was only on the facilities committee. I was just at this point getting it going, but it was kind of the rep. I would call
Oh,
myself a
gotcha.
rep.
Yeah.
A board rep on the facilities committee.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if people want time to think, I thought that we could maybe.
Well, that one, I'd like to get through February and.
Okay. Yeah,
and
I mean,
see-
that's fine.
And see what, what we've got up tonight and in February, and then we can, pick that back up and talk about it later, so, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do them, they're just committees, right? I think it says probably once or twice a month, like, and it's up to you. You don't have to choose tonight.
Academic.
Was that?
You want to,
Academic.
that's a good fit. I'll do policy. And then we'll put, I'm just gonna.
And we had,
I'll just pencil you in, I'm sorry, I'll just pencil you in for facility committee until we figure out where we're going with that.
yeah,
Is that good?
and I was gonna say, like Andy was on there too, so we were gonna be the 2, right, our max.
Yeah, no more than 2.
Did you want me to?
Yeah.
Yep. And then, do we have anybody for finance or technology that wanna step up right now?
I mean, personally, I would prefer to do policy as well, so I don't know how many of us can be on the same
You
committee.
can have two.
Because I think that is an important thing.
I think you're good at it.
I enjoy it.
They say they
She's
enjoy
not
it, put them
just
on,
me.
put Put 'em on the- put 'em on the- I'd be greedy, I'd like to do technology too.
Do you?
And I wouldn't mind doing finance as well.
Okay. And you wanna do technology?
No, that's two, but
And
I like those.
You want anything else? Is there anything else,
Natalie was about to say something.
I was gonna say.
I see you did there.
Originally, like in my first year, I was on this technology committee, but it kind of got deleted, so we didn't really get that kicked off. So if, unless Andy wants to do that one.
Finish your thought.
I'm sorry.
I said, finish your thought.
You want on that one?
No, I mean, if Andy's, I was just gonna, I'm okay with being on that as well, but
if Andy wants to do technology, I'll step away. You
And
wanna
there's
do
nothing to
technology?
say that, it's just.
I would
two
be
in
on
a
all of
meeting.
these myself,
Right.
but you
Right.
know.
All of them except policy is looking good to me.
I thought nobody wants to be on my committee, it's boring.
I'm saying.
And that's why I could do finance. Like I said, I could do any of them and all of them.
We got room for another finance and we have room for technology. Do you wanna do finance and Andy wanna do
And we have
technology? Does that
another
make sense?
room for academics too.
And
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we at? What?
You got Natalie and Rachel on finance?
Do we, is that what we have on finance?
Did you say that?
I said finance.
Oh,
Did you say
yeah.
finance?
I
I
did,
thought you
unless,
said technology.
I did, and I said, I'll
And
do any of them.
facilities.
So we,
And I wasn't
So-
sure what Andy wanted to do, so.
Yeah, I got Andy
I'll
on
speak up.
technology committee.
I'm waiting.
Technology,
I'm
who said that?
So my notes.
or facility.
Facilities.
I have
So
one
you passing on
facilities.
technology?
I didn't speak up.
Oh,
You didn't get to speak. So
I'm on facilities.
Okay, gotcha.
that's the only one you want to be on.
And then
And
Natalie,
that's the only one you have to be on.
Okay.
Well, you don't even have to be on any of them.
Natalie said, do you want to do technology?
I
Or is that
would-
too many?
I wouldn't mind doing academic. I do like academic stuff.
Okay.
This is good.
And then Natalie, technology, that's
That's
on here.
So Natalie's technology with Reagan, right?
Mhm.
Natalie and Andy are facilities. Academic is Reagan and Jackie,
Thinking all of them.
okay. Policy is Jackie and Rachel.
Mhm.
Finance is Rachel, and is it Natalie?
Yes.
Okay.
Just wanted to be fair.
Like you said.
Hey,
if
speak
it's
up,
on-
if need be.
Speak up once
So
and
Natalie's
always
on three.
Hey, this is good. You know, now you're all part of something and we can give
Make
something to
things
talk
happen.
about. Get
Right.
things moving. So yeah, good.
There we go.
We'll
Excellent.
meet for dinner or something. He's like, let me get my calendar.
What I used to do before.
Wow.
Okay, all right, so we're good. So going on to the authorization for treasurer to request advance withdrawal of funds.
That, I haven't had to do this, but it's a great thing to have in place, because if you have a cash flow problem, you can request that the Miami County Auditor send you tax money as it becomes available, rather than hold on to it and give it to you all at once in February. So in order to make that request, I need the board's approval. Haven't done it yet because we've not had any cash flow problems that would require us to do that since I've been here. Knock on wood or whatever this is. So, yeah. So,
Okay, and then you want to just keep going?
oh, sure, authorizations to pay bills as due. I just need your authorization to sign checks and pay the bills as they come due, so we can keep the lights on, so to speak. Authorization to invest funds. Every year I'm required to have 6 credit hours of training to continue my investments for the district, but I also need the board's authorization to invest the funds as I'm allowed to legally, which is very conservatively. Authorization for payroll just gives me and my staff the authority to pay all our employees. And the authorization to participate in federal and state programs. pretty self-explanatory. We want to get as many grants as we possibly can. Then we go on to authorization for the superintendent and treasurer for new hires, transfers, and resignations. You want to speak on that, or you want me to?
I'm good. I mean, this is nothing,
No, it's not new.
standard.
I think I brought it in when I started here, in 2021 or two, something along that. I'm trying to remember. But, it just gives the superintendent and or treasurer for my staff the authority to go ahead and hire someone if necessary. Meaning in an emergency situation. If there's a board meeting that's nearby and we don't need them to be in the classroom immediately or anything like that, I think Mike and I have both, tried to get them on the board agenda before.
Yeah, we do what we obviously do what we can. But there's
Right.
times and instances where you need to hire somebody, transfer somebody. and
Right.
I don't have time to have a board meeting to perform my daily duties.
Right.
Should the word emergency be added for clarification?
Or could we take out promotion, because why, there would be no I can't think of a time when a
Well, I don't know.
promotion.
Like, here's
would be
an
needed.
example, right? I got a middle school, I got a principal that has jury duty in February. They won't let him out of it. That's a gig go in July. So now I've got no principal. And then if the other principal's gone, I would have no principal, right? I mean, let's say something happened, right? So I got the building with no administrator, right? Maybe I promote administrator there for 10 days.
That's an emergency.
Well, I mean, my point is, we don't abuse it. I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't care what you put in, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
standard.
You could-
That's an example, that I mean, it's not like we're not. Wait for the board meeting or then transfer somebody or pay them more money. This is something happens, we transfer, I move an aide over to a driver or whatever,
Yeah.
they have CDL, those kinds of things, but. Up to you.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay.
So, I don't think that, the entire time I've been here, I don't think it's been abused, but I see the concern, but it's always, even if they're hired, it's contingent upon board approval.
Yeah, and all-
It
and we tell
has
them
to
that.
be, and we tell them that, it has to be board approved. Now, if they work before then because of an emergency or something, state and federal law require that I pay them for whatever days they worked, right?
Right.
But,
But
They
isn't there a
wouldn't be-
rule about how many days they're allowed to work before being board approved? Because there used to be, I know that.
Usually a month, I mean, I don't know about the law.
Used
but
to be like
I've
3
never-
days.
and I don't think there is.
We're all looking your way.
No, as far as I know, it's, law only requires that the board meet every 60
months.
days.
Right.
So you don't even have to meet on a monthly basis. Most boards do, and we want to continue that practice because
Yeah, that's-
a lot of things happen and we need your input. So, I don't think if there is, it's probably not, less than 60 days because the law only requires boards to meet every 60 days.
And we actually have a policy on new hires, so it's already in our policy.
Mhm.
that
It's
allows
all
to
contingent
do that.
upon, clean background checks, and,
BCI
BCI, FBI, and board approval.
and
So,
RAP.
mhm. Now RAP, yes. So.
In all the years I've been doing this, I've never given anybody more money. Between board meetings.
You've never what? I'm sorry.
Never given anybody more money between board meetings. Never gave away a raise.
Okay.
Have you ever been caught? And I don't mean this,
Wow.
like in a bad way.
It is being
Like,
recorded.
have you promised a promotion that didn't get approved?
No. I promised promotion pending board approval.
Okay.
I can only recommend, I can't hire.
And they should know.
Yeah, and I tell them that though, because some of them don't.
Yeah.
I'll hire you, and then the board approves you.
All right.
Yeah. So I've never been caught.
Yeah.
Good place to stop.
Like, if you've already been caught.
Yeah,
And I was
we
like,
hope the
yeah,
board,
yeah.
I'm just saying, I hope the board would accept our recommendations, whatever this may be, right? So, but, it's just, I added it because it's standard language that I've seen in most organization meetings, so.
Okay, I believe this is similar to last year.
Yeah, it is.
Number four.
Employment of substitute teachers, I think this one's new, right?
It's just basically all the, you remember the non-bachelor, bachelor, the whole discussion years ago, right? And then
Right.
COVID hit, now we can't find stuff. So, our policy is, you just need to have the pre-service teacher permit issued by the state of Ohio. You don't necessarily need to sub, you don't need a bachelor's degree, so to speak, but you need certification, which actually enables people like that better because that enables us to get subs. I mean, they pass the rap back, DCI, FBI, but we'll talk more about like dedicated staffing. I've got to get ASOP out of frontline over out of the ESC back over to here. So we do dedicated staffing, but it's nice because they'll be able to market that and get these people with just their service permit, right? Not necessarily a license. We hopefully, as once this gets up and running, we will not have any more coverage issues, which we still have. I see coverage listed every day still. So, but I think, and like I said, I already met with the ESC and I met with Dave Larson, who's superintendent over there. He will bring we're gonna get ASOP back over here from frontline. Because ASOP works currently over there as under one umbrella of all schools. And I don't want to access all schools. I didn't want access to ours. So, but that's what this is. This is the House bills, things that have been done over time as we try to find more teachers.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a best practice to have the board approve.
We see it.
Substitutes, yeah, so you're aware.
I was just gonna mention that. I noticed, the company that we hired to do the substitute teaching, I was on their website
Mhm.
once and looking at all the schools
Yeah.
that they were advertising for to hire new substitutes to join their company. And several of those up north, like, it might have been Beechwood, Ravenna, Revere, those schools, a lot of them just had the high school diploma as part of their qualifications, but not everybody did.
Thank you. Yeah.
Some
well,
had,
And those are
Up
high-powered
for-
districts, right? Some of them, and that's all they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you, all the subs I've seen, good subs doesn't necessarily, have a degree doesn't mean you're a good sub. And vice versa, but,
yeah,
to your point, thanks for looking at that. Like I said, they are pretty prevalent up north. They're working their way out here. That company started out in Savannah,
yeah.
up by Toledo. They started there and came back this way. Then she sold it.
And I actually noticed a couple of schools had, 2-year degrees as, an acceptable. So, even that from a 2-year to a 4-year really opened up the, application pool. Yeah.
And and Dave and I talked, I'm gonna obviously we pay ESC something, right? For,
Mhm.
I told Dave, I said, I'm gonna take it back. He understands. That's not their strong suit, he gets it. So, I won't, so what we'll do is we won't pay the ESC for ASOP anymore. And their services, we'll bring it in-house and then we'll use dedicated staff.
Mhm.
So that's cool. Cause I just can't, we gotta get subs. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
So,
We're almost there.
Okay, approve the compensation for board members at $125 per meeting. That's the max amount allowed as far as compensation. Mrs. Reese pointed out earlier that, yes, it's always been capped at 12. I guess at some point in time, somebody said that was the law. Someone other than me, in this position, that is not. The max, I think, is 5,000 per year, which is up to 40 meetings. I hope we never get close.
we're on track.
That's an incentive though for the next item.
Let's not do that. But, so that's why I took the 12 meetings
60.
off, but if the board would like to keep it that way, I took it off so we could discuss it. But it's entirely up to the board. Your compensation amount remains the same per meeting, it's just the number of meetings. And I feel like you guys don't get compensated enough for all the time that you put in, none of the board members do, but, it's not capped at 12. It is really up to 5,000 a year, I think, so I think that's like, 40, 50 meetings, it says.
But I don't think that this can apply to us, right? isn't it that we can vote it in now, but
Mhm.
I don't think it can apply to sitting board members. I think this would have to put into action when the new members, whatever new
I'll
members. come
double
on.
check for you, Bill.
So don't anybody get their hopes up.
Other than the.
5,000, huh?
For the whole year.
Member of Congress, yeah, I'll take a
That's what I
raise.
thought starting now. I mean,
I
I'll
think
double
starting-
check. I'll double check, because you're not giving yourself a raise, the amount per meeting is
Stays
the
the same.
same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
If whatever was voted in when we got on here, I think is what we have to,
which I think is 125. It's been that since I got here.
but not max at 12 months then, right?
It should, it's not a max of 12.
Oh, yeah, then,
But you're fine. It
then
should
then
start.
we should be fine.
I'll double check. I will make sure we don't get any trouble, but you know, I think it's from this point forward, yeah.
Yeah,
Julie's
it's-
shaking her head no, but well, either way, yes, we'll double check and make sure.
I guess I wouldn't have a problem if it was capped at, you know, 24, you know, two meetings a month. You know, that would cover our work session and our regular meeting and or our, you know, committee and, but we're not doing that in board capacity. So that would just, you know,
Especially.
do our, yeah,
That
right, or
covers-
a
that
special
covers
meeting.
all our
It
meetings.
covers our work session and or a special meeting plus our regular board meeting. You know, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'm not here for the money.
Yeah.
It would be fun to-
You know, right,
Not like
exactly.
you're getting rich.
Exactly, so.
None of us
Make 15 cents an hour or whatever,
Right.
it's not much, yeah, so, I mean, I will certainly double check and make sure everything's above board, I
Might
just
have an
wanted
answer
it.
here shortly.
Right, right, I think
just
we're
wanted
getting
to
our
make sure
answer.
That,
Let's phone a friend.
Yeah.
I'm here for the kids. That's my theory.
Okay. so if you wanna keep it, where, you know, you're just approving compensation at 125 right now, which is where it's been.
And I think that's the max. You can't go over 100.
Correct, that is the max by law, they haven't.
So we
changed it in
don't-
a while.
Are we gonna put in here that, or does that go in our policy that it's a maximum of 24 times?
I'm not sure that if we put in that, it won't apply to us. It'll only apply to anybody who knew coming.
I will check.
But I still think
policy.
that that's a good policy for anybody new
Oh,
coming
yeah.
in too.
Yeah, for anybody.
You know. I mean, I think 12 is a little thin,
Yeah,
honestly, you know, for the, especially,
Especially what's going on.
especially for this past year.
yes, for the lately.
Yeah,
However,
But I wouldn't have a problem, you know, because we did, like 2 days at the conference, and then especially if you work, you have to take off work for one of those days, because it was on, or two of them were on a work day, right? It was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then there's, 2 days of training for
Check
OSBA,
with John.
and I don't know if those qualify as meetings or whatever, but I wouldn't have a
we have
problem.
time.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it doing it with more.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's no.
but I don't think OSBA and stuff would count for those.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know, I'm just saying personal time outside of, it's more than just the board meetings. It'd be the other, like, conferences that anyone would go to and stuff like that, they have to take off any personal time.
I don't know that this would cover that.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm throwing that out there, as that's another time. So if the purpose of it is to compensate you for your time at the meeting, or is it your time just in general to support
Your
your, I don't
service.
know.
Board meetings.
Board meetings, oh, okay.
There is a law that allows you to be paid for training, but it's like, it has to be more than 3 or 4 hours or it's half and blah, blah, blah. So I'll have to check our policy again, because I don't think we've ever paid for that, yeah. So,
I don't think it's abusive to be compensated for work session and a regular meeting.
right.
No, I don't either.
So I'll double check and if, you know, let you know.
But we can still press forward approving the 125, right, that was staying here, okay.
But are we gonna add no more than 24 meetings?
Yeah,
Okay.
with a
That's,
case.
that's not part of it.
Mm-mm.
This
It's
is
not-
just
we
talking,
can
this is
Add it if
talking
you
about,
want
oh,
to, yeah.
Yeah,
But, right, because that was part of it.
right.
She took it out.
Yeah, it was capped at 12 meetings.
So I think we can cap it at 24. If everybody agrees with that.
It doesn't matter.
I think it's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I'll double check about it applying to you. I think it does, but I could be wrong. Double check.
Sure.
Okay, establish a Board of Education Service Fund. Ohio Revised Code provides, setting aside $2 per pupil or 20,000, whichever is greater. So just need to set aside 20,000 for you guys to go to training, mileage reimbursement, things of that nature. Establish dates and times of regular board meeting. I'll leave that up to you, Ms. Westford.
Hi, everybody. So regular meetings. Does anybody, I'll just start off with, does anybody have a problem with status quo?
I would like to have discussion about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So. I mean, that's just me. Up until this year, it was always Monday. So, I mean, I would just like to discuss about that. And I personally would like them to both be at, like, whatever day you choose. I would like for them to be at the same time. So that it's not like 5:30 for this one, 7 o'clock for that one, and like, wait, what are we doing? You know, like, so if we could, and I think it would be easier for our staff that come and, you know, if it's at the same time, or maybe if it's closer to after school time, so they're not hanging out. I don't know. So just part of the discussion. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else have any?
Well, I liked Monday when we had it because, when you work, you know, the bulk of your, when you work full-time out of the home, the bulk of your time is spent on the weekends reviewing it. And so I'm gonna give that up anyway. And so to come in Monday and do that worked really well the past my first 2 years of being on the board. And, I feel like there's a lot more scrambling when it's on Tuesday, which seems odd because you think there's an extra day, but it doesn't lead to anything really good. It's just more scrambling. So it's kind of good on Mondays. I found I've preferred that now that I've done Tuesdays. But that again is just my thoughts on that. And then it's for me, my choice, both ways. If I travel for work, I can leave on Tuesday, but I can't go on Wednesday. Then I have to miss the whole trip. So for me personally, when I need to travel for work, I can go out Tuesday and not worry about missing a meeting, if that's the case. And it just makes it better for me, but again, I try to avoid that at all costs and avoid those 2 weeks that we do have our board meetings anyway, but it does give more options personally. That's my 2 cents. And I like the idea of moving the time maybe to a common time, and I you know, maybe split the difference there and make it like 6 o'clock or something, and gets everybody in and out quicker. And I think there's still time for dinner if you choose to have dinner beforehand or grab a bite to eat. And then if we don't run too late, everybody can get home. And then we don't have to go, wait, is it the second Tuesday or is it the third? What
Yeah,
time
is it the 5:30?
But it's like at 5:30, I'm always scurrying to, you know, check any last minute or whatnot. But then the 7 o'clock, I'm always like, hey, if I could just get there, then we can get done, you know, and get.
Is there any historical information on why it was 7? Anyone know? It's just what it has been.
Just from my experience, a lot of boards are moving from 7 to 6 and 6 or 6:30 or 5:30 because it's just always been 7, you know, because
Okay.
people always worked later in the community. But I know when I was at Miamisburg, they moved their time up because the board didn't think 7 o'clock was necessary anymore. But it's entirely up to the board to make that decision, you know, what's good for the community. We're here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you tell us what is 6 better for the folks that live here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had them at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock for
Same here.
years.
Yeah.
I like 6, makes sense.
Yeah, I like the idea of 6. I just wasn't sure if there was a
There's
particular
no
reason.
rule
behind it.
or law about that. ordinance.
Right, I
you
just,
know.
I mean, like, I didn't necessarily mean, law, I just.
Yeah, I don't know,
History.
it's always
History,
been
yeah,
5:30 and
what we
7
always-
since I've been
Just
here.
do it, cause that's what we've always done.
Right.
Which is never
That's
good.
necessary.
answer,
Never
right?
good answer.
It doesn't mean
We don't have to do that.
But you know, what?
Correct.
We're here to stir it up in twenty
Right.
twenty-five.
There you go.
Committees, the meeting
Change is
time,
good.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
love one time to remember. It's at 6. Every time we have a meeting, yeah.
Did either of you have a objection to Monday?
It's not my favorite, but I mean, if that's what we go with, I'll make it work. I just,
I would really rather not.
if we don't get our, if the agenda's not firmed up. The problem with a Monday meeting is there's still stuff trickling in on Monday and I can't take time from work to constantly
No, yeah.
check.
That's
Like-
not,
But it
that's,
shouldn't happen.
that's not gonna happen. Okay, so part of the problem is I'm gonna cut off this year in 25. I'm cutting off what you can turn in. I've, what's that?
Yay.
Yeah. So, I've let things slide a little bit because of stuff we had to do,
Mhm.
but I've got an admin meeting coming up this month, and if you don't turn something in by the cutoff date, it doesn't go on the agenda. I want typically what I used to do is agendas would be done a week ahead of time. So the meeting's on the 14th, on the 7th, the agenda's done,
Mhm.
goes out, you can review it, then the notice goes out 48 hours, right? And but we can't, and I did this for this one. I mean, there's things sitting up there that didn't go on this agenda tonight. It was late, so it didn't go on. So, but it's not fair to you and it's not fair to, Shelley and everybody else is trying to get this thing done. And then people come bring things in. I mean, we needed people, we needed staff. We had situations or issues that were going on when I first got here and we took care of them.
Right,
But I mean, now we're at the point where, we're gonna function like a school district and a business and we're going to say, here's your cutoff. So I mean, Monday from an agenda standpoint won't be an issue.
okay, cause I mean, I just couldn't.
You'll
keep-
have it
I
plenty of
couldn't
time.
keep checking my board docs to make sure that for my 5:30 meeting, I'd read and,
Well, like you said, the community, like, they're looking at it and they come here and it's different. That's just not, it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut it off. So I've started doing it. I've started doing things like that. Not bailing anybody out anymore or
hard deadline.
just making things
25.
work because we had to. Now we're at a point where it's gotta work because they did it. So there's stuff on this agenda that didn't get on, that the people wanted on. But moving forward, like I said, week at a time, it gets cut off and, that won't be an issue, so.
Okay.
Well, and I think to your point, I think that if it's always allowed to slide in, then
Then it
there's
never
no
stops.
incentive to get it in on time. So, I do appreciate that. So thank you. I will echo kind of what Natalie said for me. I mean, the weekend is the time that I have to dedicate to really, being able to go through the agenda and do some due diligence with the needed items. So for me, that is helpful. That's just, again, my preference. But I know that there are the Monday holidays that we do run into that kind of does flip it to a Tuesday sometimes, but I think that that's easy enough to deal with. But that's just my opinion.
Mondays usually aren't the holidays, usually second or third Mondays.
Yeah,
So you can make it the last Monday. We've been for a holiday.
Memorial Day. is the last
January,
Monday.
February, and
Mhm.
Memorial Day is the last one. so.
Right now, the schedule works perfect for me. It's, a lot of times on the weekends are my busy times. Well, a week really is busy for all of us and whatnot, but it also allows that 1 day buffer of a business day. So coming off the weekend, sometimes I can't touch it on the weekends because there's so much other stuff going on. Then I need the money, and then Mike's in the office, so then I can contact him and work out any other questions I have on the agenda or what stuff means or whatever's going on, where my questions are. And then that gives me a business day to prepare before the Tuesday meeting. And then in the summertime, we travel a lot and it's just hard coming off of a weekend or being gone, you know, and then having to rush back on a Monday to come to a meeting. So I'm flexible with really any other, well, Wednesday's not good either, but if you want to move it to a different day other than Monday, but it would really be a lot better for my schedule to keep Tuesdays or talk about a different day. Time, I agree, I'm good with that, but I also want to have a discussion in the work sessions and perhaps we can do a work session right before a board meeting. And then, so we kept the board meeting at 7, do the work session at 5:30 or something like that, but. So before we set in stone time, just want to mention that too, but yeah, the time I'm flexible on, that's, but I definitely would like to stay away from Mondays and Fridays.
But here's the thing too, if moving forward, if the agenda is complete, right, and it's done a week out, that still gives you, no matter what day,
Mhm.
it still gives you time to look at it. Right now, you know, it's 48 hours and, you know, I'm getting stuff on a Friday, right? Like, then it goes on and now you've got to use the weekend to look at it.
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean why you can't get it finished and give you time to review it, whether it's a weekday or weekend.
I mean,
That helps.
as long as there's a work day, that if we have questions that we need to get in touch with. Cause I don't wanna text people on the weekend talking about board stuff, if we can do it during the regular business hours. Just for courtesy's sake, so if you're going to cut it off, could we have it on Thursday or? So that we could have Friday?
Is the 48 hours,
That's
Is
just a
it-
notice.
that's just the notice,
The public notice.
but it has to be out for the public. But my question
Has
is,
to be
is it,
Available to the board 48 hours in advance.
but is it
That's a lot.
48, is it just
A
blanket 48
minimum.
hours, or is it truly 2 business days?
2 business days.
So business days would be weekdays.
So if it's a
Because
Monday, we
when I
would
got
have
here,
to have.
when I got here, they were going out on the weekend.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like, we can't do that.
Sunday night.
Sunday, and then sometimes still being
So
updated.
that's like, it's gotta go, it's business day, that's why it's gotta be out Friday by 4:30, 5 o'clock, right? So you have the week, so the community, you guys can see it, but that's just the minimum, right? It doesn't mean you can't have it earlier. It's the cutoff's a week ahead of time. Cause you know, we gotta start to plan and do things a little better
Mhm.
here.
So could we consider splitting the difference and have a workshop on Tuesday and then turn around and, because for the most part, right, we've been building our regular agenda during the workshop, right?
Mhm.
So we could come in on Monday and do the regular workshop and still get that, any updates out on Friday potentially. And then that would probably give enough time. And then if there's questions that come up on Monday, that the president feels like they need to ask, or anybody does, either they can call you or come to the board and just have a, bring those questions up for everybody to hear. That might be something to split the difference because, as an option,
Should say work session on a Monday, board meeting on a Tuesday.
work session Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
board meeting Monday,
Got it.
a regular meeting on Monday, the following Monday.
I'd rather keep them the
Same
same
day,
day,
or-
just,
Yeah.
for my own sanity.
I can't remember
Yeah.
time.
Well, we used to do that.
We
For-
did,
For
yes.
20 years, we
We
did
did.
that.
Well,
really?
23 years, we've done that. Yeah. Tuesday, Monday.
It was a
That's
bad
why-
idea then.
Yeah.
It still is.
I guess there's
And that's why
another,
it's
here's
embedded.
another question while you're thinking about regular meetings. What do you all want to do for work sessions? Do you want to keep the monthly work session to build the agenda? Do you want to do work sessions as needed? Do you want quarterly work sessions? Do you want work sessions to be something different than the agenda? Like something project based, or do you want them before the meeting? Just something to think about. I don't care, obviously. I'm here anyway. I don't know what, I mean, work sessions are, like I said, those have been new to me here. Never done them before. Had special meetings, obviously, here and there, but never, work sessions. But, you know, like I said, agendas went out, you know, we communicated and really it was what it was fine, but whatever you're comfortable with, and whatever the people here are comfortable with in the community, I don't care either way, but it's something to think about if that helps when you're trying to figure out the schedule for the regular meetings. So, throw that out to you all.
I know we have the strat plan we can work on. There's probably some
There's,
revolving categories that we
yeah,
can
like I said,
discuss.
like FMD, for example, I'm going, and when I get to the regular meeting, I'm going to bring up, FMD, I would like them to come and talk to us, but I want that to be the focus. I don't want it to be thrown into a meeting that's lasted 4 hours and they,
Yeah.
They have time. And I have a document I want to share with you, but I want you to have time to actually read it and put some thought into it and, and then they would like to present. And I've got some things, that's a work session type ordeal, right? The strat plan is something we're going to do together and we're going to piecemeal, the different segments, and we bring it all back together. It's a great work session item,
Project.
It's one of those things, and we've got, levy committees and things like that, that's gonna get started. I'm supposed to people, but those are things those are work session items, if you will. And like I said, I'm typically usually communicate good enough to where I don't need a work session to go on an agenda. But I think that from looking back historically here, there was no work sessions. And then I think for some reason, the board felt that they couldn't get things or information, so they started the work sessions. And that's where we're at now. Because if I look back in the minutes, there were no work sessions. And then there was,
My understanding there was,
and then there
and then
wasn't.
And
did
then it
away with
wasn't.
it, and then it was chaotic, and we were like, we need more orders, so we brought it back.
Right.
But now it's not chaotic as much.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's just.
we're all lined up going in the right direction.
Mhm.
I really like the idea of a work session, really to work on
Special topics.
on things that we've got going on outside of what we're doing in our regular business. So legally, do we have to go ahead and schedule out our work sessions, or are those, can we announce those as we need them? Or
You could call.
Or a
work session if you
combination.
want.
Right,
And that's special meeting.
Or can they just be blanket on the calendar and then be canceled if there's not a need for one that
Well,
month?
if it's a regular meeting, right, and we cancel, there's a lot of stuff to do to cancel a regular meeting.
right.
True.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's like,
It's easier to add than-
Meetings, right,
Yeah,
if
so
you
you can-
set it as a
you can
regular
add it,
meeting,
just
right.
like there's certain things like but there are certain meetings where you can't add to the agenda. There's certain meetings where you can't, there's certain rules, but I just, if you set the work session, I mean, there's always gonna be something to talk about. There's always gonna be something to work on, right? So, if you, I mean, like I said, if it gets chaotic, I mean, we can always add them back in. I mean, got a special meeting on this, so.
Yeah.
Build the agenda.
Yeah,
So-
I agree, we don't need the. work
Something to think
session.
about. I mean, like I said,
Yeah, I don't think we need a work session built.
Not to build an agenda.
Not to build an agenda.
I agree. I don't think that that's necessarily the best use of our time.
No,
I really feel like the last several months we've talked about it when we came back and we.
Talk
did the same
about
thing
it.
again.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
well, then we're trying to like not duplicate efforts and then do the same thing twice, we're like, let's not discuss it in the work session, because we're gonna discuss it in the regular meeting, because that's when more people show up or
Right.
listen. And so then we try not to, so we weren't even really building the agenda, we we're just going over like, next week, expect to see all this.
But I think it would be nice with everything that's going on here to have a work session to come in and talk about. Buildings, to talk about strategic plan, to talk about, update on the levy.
I
Those-
agree.
Those kinds of
Right.
things, right? Things that move the needle here. You can come listen, that'd be great.
Is that something you want to have every other month or quarterly, or just like plan on adding it as needed?
What's that? I mean, you think you need to put them in? I was thinking quarterly or bi-monthly. You want to start bi-monthly work sessions every other month?
I kind of like that.
It's a thought. I mean,
Mhm.
we don't go Totally.
We can always add, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's like, we gotta
If we're-
really talk
if we're
about this, we
knee-deep
can
in
put it,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
I like every other month. for-
But it'd be nice to leave with the set, like, okay, we're gonna do regular meetings on this day every month at 6,
Mhm.
and we're gonna do work sessions bi-monthly at 6 on this same day.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what Tip City does. I read some of they always have an article in the paper every week about their meetings and stuff. And they'll do a work session before their regular meeting starts, so they get all that knocked out. And I read the same thing. It's an informal setting for specific issues, plans, proposals, brainstorming, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, but it would be a different day than the actual board.
Yeah.
Oh,
here's
okay,
what
yeah,
we're
or we can do
talking
a
about.
different day, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking
And then you're
about
not restricted, I guess.
spending, we don't spend 2 hours on
Construction.
something,
Yeah.
Right,
right? We're not,
Technology or.
yeah.
yeah.
So we do bi-month, so you go from
So,
12 work sessions to 6 work sessions,
mhm.
basically. And
With a
those 6 work
specific-
sessions will be specific items targeted to what we're doing.
And we did this in my second year. We went to every other month. I thought it was kind of too long of a gap myself, but I don't know.
I mean,
Because I
I
think
don't,
it all stacked up again, and then they were longer meetings.
but I think,
I don't know.
I think everybody sitting at this table knows they can call me pretty much anytime.
Say
right?
what? I'm
I
sorry.
think everybody sitting at this table knows they can pretty much call me anytime, right? And ask me a question or, and I can call you and, or email or text or phone, I mean, I think that, and if there is things that we need to address, I mean, I think I can address those. But like I said, doesn't matter to me. Those are just some suggestions. It's your organization.
Is it fairly easy then just to announce a special meeting? Because like, well, when we're doing the strat plan, won't that already drive other meetings? Because we'll want to have maybe a meeting with
Well,
the,
here's the thing about special, like just announcing them, it bothers me. If I was a community member, I said, all of a sudden they throw up a special meeting. I want to go to that. I didn't get time to plan for it.
Right.
Mm.
I think Julie would be very sad if she missed the work. So I think, but I just think it would be nice to have, people get weird, right? Like if I had a board meeting at 7:30, I was hiding. I've had board meetings at like 7 in the morning because I had to. It was an emergency, right?
Mhm.
Oh, what's he doing? You just had it at 7 because he didn't want us to come, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. But I mean, those kinds of things, they look weird. And I just think that it's not that I just think that, I hate the word transparency, right? It's overused, but it's, I think it should be noted here at the organization meeting that we want to have our regular meetings here, and then we're gonna have work sessions. If we went bi-monthly and we needed to add something, Natalie, we could. But I just don't want to leave here with, well, we'll let you know when we want to have a work session, or we'll let you know we have a special.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't, I don't like the optics of that. And then we'll get busy and then we'll have to coordinate it, and then, everybody's got something going on.
Right.
So I just think, I think
Establish it now.
like establish it now. I think with the new format and the agendas and stuff, I think you have plenty of time to review it. I think you have plenty of time to ask questions. I think that's going to be an issue, and then we can do the work sessions for the projects that we're working on, whether it's, the facilities, the planning for the educational planners, whether it's, levy updates or, things like that. Growth, enrollment projections.
Then we'll all be going, is this the month we have our workshop?
Well, I
meeting?
think
even or odd.
it's gotta be even or odd.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
It's gotta be. I was thinking the
Yeah.
same
What's
thing.
that?
Even.
What month is the work session on? Even or odd
Even.
months? So you keep it straight. It's always,
Oh, okay.
It's
Well,
either
even-
even or odd.
What month is it? Is it this week?
What do you want?
I mean, I think that, yeah. I mean, I think if we do,
I'd say you probably don't want it in December.
right, which
Right.
takes out odds
takes
or
out
takes out
January.
evens,
Then
well,
there's November with Thanksgiving that third week.
And OSBA.
well, and if you say we're gonna do it on the odd months, then we don't have another work session until March.
Right.
But we could do evens and just say, but not December,
Or we can move it up earlier in the.
earlier in the month.
We're establishing the dates and times.
True.
I mean, go ahead, cancel it, but I mean, it would be nice, December's, Christmas, everything else, okay, we cancel it. That's not abnormal, but
Yeah.
I would rather have 6 work sessions on the calendar as opposed to canceling one as opposed to not having anything and then
Mhm.
adding
Yeah.
six throughout.
We,
the-
we had a work session every month this whole year.
Mhm.
We made it work.
What months are the busiest for planning, or where do you see the most value? I mean, maybe it's spring months. And then you take off for the summer. I'm just saying there's other ways to work that as well, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it's a good question. And I think, I mean, for me, when I came back, when the kids came back, I was sitting in my office over break, it's nice and quiet, you start to, January, you gear, we're finishing out this year right now.
Yeah.
But I'm also, so I got two trains running down the track, right?
Yeah.
Parallel track. I'm finishing 24-25 school year, and I'm starting to plan for the 25-26 school year. So to say which one's busiest, I mean, you've got January, February, March, April, you got, end of the year graduation in May, that gets busy, but we're out like the 18th, middle of the month. Then you got graduation, and then the summer months are, believe it or not, just as busy. There's a different type of busy.
Mhm. Cause let's get all the projects
Yeah, I
done
mean,
before the
now we
start
kick
of
it
the
in,
hurry.
getting
Yeah.
things fixed, hurry up, and we're gonna have to make some decisions this summer about adding some classrooms and things like that, right? So those are busy, and then you get into the fall, and you've got, like you said, the capital conference for you all, the start of the school year. But I would say every other month, and there's gonna be plenty of things to talk about. There's really not. I don't think we need them every month, but I think going by, with all the stuff going on, and listening to everybody talk, I think bi-monthly would be better than quarterly.
Mhm.
And like I said,
I
if we
agree.
got to a point where we didn't need it, we can always cancel it, because run the holidays or whatever. But they're all busy. It's a different kind of
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, some people don't think I work in the summer. Like they saw me here Monday, the 30th. I was walking around with the planners, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, I'm working." I think you worked. Go to work.
260, that's right.
260.
So,
Well, I mean, we can start with even, because that'll roll us into February, then kick off our first work session,
Yeah.
and that would dictate.
Evens.
evens for work session.
Even.
Fine.
Yeah.
And what time?
I would make them 6, right?
I
Split the
think
difference. I think
Those
those
6.
I think we're good.
Mhm.
You can get home
Right, you can grab a bite
Come straight here.
and or come straight here.
Then we go with the second of some day of the,
Yeah, I mean, we're doing Monday or Tuesday.
I'd really like to do Tuesday. You guys,
I mean, Tuesday's my preference, but I'm not gonna, it's not gonna kill me if I have to go Monday.
Everything seems to hang on me.
Get your words in faster.
I wouldn't be opposed to trying Mondays.
I'll do Mondays then. If everybody wants to do Mondays.
Well, I think too, like, I mean, I understand too, that you get the agenda earlier, you're not scrambling. Right? You got time to breathe and look at it,
Mhm.
so.
So we'll do the second Monday of every month at 6 p.m. for work session.
the work session.
Okay.
So work session is the second Monday, by month,
And then start in February.
February.
Even. Just send me ones on my phone.
Yep.
So that's February, April, June, August, October, December, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then back to, so everybody's good with that, right? And then back to regular meetings.
So that, are we keeping it, so that would be the third Monday, right?
If we keep it the
Yep.
same. And then that still keeps us away from the township, right?
Yeah.
Their meetings.
When's your township meetings, Julie?
First and last Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Well, then people can go to that
And we
too.
did that to avoid your session.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now we'll go Monday and
no.
avoid it all, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
I mean,
that
but if you
nice?
do it the same week, then it's a Monday, Tuesday meeting for people that come.
It'll be all right.
But you're the first and fourth,
First and last.
first and last,
So
and
if
we're
it
the
happens to be
second and
5
third.
In the month,
Second
we're
and third.
1 and 5, not 6, we get a week off.
So third Monday of each month at 6 PM for regular meetings. Second Monday bi-monthly beginning in February at 6 PM for work session.
Well, if I miss it, don't hold it against
Yeah.
me. When I
Yeah,
show
so-
up on
yeah.
Tuesday.
Reminder.
That's something I will speak up for, Jackie. or-
It's like, where is she?
We are gonna run into holidays, yeah. So we'll have to look. So, as we put the calendar together and get it on the website, if it falls on a holiday, the Monday, do we just bump it to Tuesday?
I think so.
I think there's 3 of them.
That's
Yeah, I
not
think there's,
logical.
yeah, okay, just making
So
sure,
just-
so we'll put a list together.
We'll put it on there
Send it
and
out.
we will make the arrange, when the holiday comes, we'll just change it to the holiday, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
You have to do some paperwork.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day count.
I was gonna
That is not. Nope.
Three of these fall on holidays?
Yeah, I mean, you have,
Ohio.
Yeah, President's Day.
President's
Martin Luther
King
King,
Day,
President's
President's Day, Memorial Day.
But that's the
You could have
last.
Juneteenth.
Martin Luther King is this month.
That's Thursday.
Yeah, so we'll miss
Is it
that.
Thursday this year?
And Memorial Day, we won't hit because it's the last Monday of the month.
Yeah.
It's the fourth.
Labor Day.
Labor Day's the first
Labor
Monday
Day's
of the
the
month,
first.
Oh, okay.
so you won't
So
hit
it's
that.
only 1 or 2.
So there's really.
Just- Just next
MLK,
month.
Being like-
MLK,
I think it's
that
really,
always seems to be on this.
MLK, we're missing that because we're not meeting next week.
Oh, that's
January.
right.
Yeah, it's our only meeting for the month.
yeah,
Oh, so it's just.
Columbus Day.
President's Day, we don't do Columbus.
I don't think that's a,
It's indigenous people.
yeah, I don't think that's a.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
we can't make up
I agree with
holidays.
you.
Veterans Day, Veterans Day, we don't get off any.
You are correct.
I think we'll be.
I think, yeah.
I think
I
it-
think
I think we're
November
doing
may
fine.
pose a problem because of
OSBA.
OSBA and
Mhm.
some other bad.
But that's a problem.
That poses for the whole
That's
state.
a what?
Yeah,
No
right.
matter what day.
No
matter,
board members having a meeting.
We would
Right.
not be here. We are all going to the conference.
Okay, so 3rd Monday is the regular meetings at 6 PM every month.
Yes,
That's-
Mhm.
And then the 2nd Monday, starting in February at 6 PM is the work session, they're by month.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Perfect.
okay, so authorized board compensation, just read something that says that's an increase in your pay and you can't do that. So you are correct, Jackie. It would be for the new board coming in, new
Mhm.
board members as they come in. So you guys would be static at 12 and when you're re-elected or new members are elected, it would go to 24.
I think that's good because I think no matter who's here, they should be
Yeah.
Yeah.
compensated for.
Oh, I agree.
those
Yeah.
Yeah,
two
it's
meetings
a lot
a
of
month.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is the first district I've been at where it was capped. You know, so it was just always the
Mhm.
compensation was set at 125 and that was it, so.
Mhm.
There we go.
Thank
It
you
goes
for
into
looking at it.
effect for new board members as they come in.
And we said cap it at 24, right? Even though that we changed the work sessions without.
Yeah, because they could change.
meetings and stuff.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do that,
Right,
special
it's for
meetings or-
specials and
Yeah.
others that come up. You might have emergencies or.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Did you want to do this one or you want me to? I don't care.
You can.
All right, authorization of approval of resolution authorizing the superintendent and treasurer to serve as purchasing agents.
We're
When,
good with this.
oh,
Yeah, that's just saying that.
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
all
okay.
work
yeah, that's
together
just
and-
letting people know that they'll be
I'll be
together at other times.
But we're not doing business, we're not.
No,
Right. So when I first got here, I think it was $5,000 that you authorized the superintendent and the treasurer to spend without
Buy
board
some
approval. And really this day and age, that's nothing, right? I mean, that really means that there's gonna be a need for more board meetings, because we don't have contracts that are $5,000 or less, especially given the size of the district. So, it was increased to 25,000. I came in the year after, the mishap that Mrs. Reese, commented on. And to be frank, that should have never happened anyway, because they didn't follow board policy and they didn't follow, the requirements. I would never do that. I don't think Mike would ever do that. And this is something you pass each year. So based upon how comfortable you are with your superintendent and treasurer. I will say that the state has increased construction related expenses. Is it 75 or 100?
75.
75,000. So this is even below what the state recommends for construction.
Yeah.
And
For point of reference, in 2009, I believe it was 75,000.
Yeah.
Until 9. My spending authority.
right, my limit has always been higher. But I mean, I do recall when I got here, nobody seemed to know what their limit was. So I think that, you know, Mike and I have been here I've been here a while. But Mike and I both have done these jobs for a while, 20+ years. I'm not gonna
33.
I'm not gonna say that because a woman does, I don't want people to know my age, but anyway.
Here.
20 or more. So it's really up to what the board is comfortable allowing their current superintendent and treasurer to do. So I understand the concerns of the past, so it's entirely up to the board, unless you want to add something to that.
do
I
not-
think
I
25,000.
gave my example.
Yeah, 25,000 gets, you know, sometimes is hard to do too, because sometimes they're 26,000 or 27. Yeah, we bring those to the board. So, but it's up to whatever you're comfortable with. That's my 2 cents.
Good.
I think in a previous board, I think we asked if, kind of like a courtesy note, like ahead of time, so that we weren't, you know, caught off guard or left hanging when the community
Caught.
hears something or whatever.
You, so you weren't caught.
Oh, I know you're saying. Thank you.
You would think they could fill the building and not be caught. But,
You're right.
yeah, that was before Tina. So, but yeah, I mean, I try. You know, Mike does his weekly updates. I can do something similar if there's a contract or something like that, whatever the board wants. So, but usually we hold pretty true to that 25,000 or less.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, for most things, if you know it's coming, you usually know it's coming at least a month ahead of time, right?
Right.
Not always, but
He starts cutting us off, but we'll see. So up to the board.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Again, it's a once a year thing, so next January, if you feel differently, you can check. Resolution authorizing legal services, and we still use John Kodarski. If I say his name wrong, sorry, John. Dinsmore and Shoal and Ennis Britton, from time to time. Dinsmore and Shoal, I primarily use for our annual financial information statements, our bond issues, things of that on the financial end. And they also help with the levy stuff. They are the ones that write the income tax resolutions and things of that nature. John has been our primary attorney for longer than I've been here. And Ennis Britton, we use on occasion. So I use them a lot for public records request, because there's a bunch of attorneys you can go to. John sometimes has, you know, limited time available to go through and redact a bunch of stuff on your, or review what you've redacted on a public records request. I also go to them for employment issues sometimes, as well as John, you know, sometimes just to get additional information. So it really depends, but we've used, I think previous superintendents have used them for, employment issues and HR issues that have come up as well.
Okay. Good to know.
But it's good to have a backup in case John does decide to go on vacation or
Sure.
something, you know?
plus you getting old.
Well, you know, I'm not saying that. I'm not going.
Mike's like, I said it. That's right.
That's on him. John, I'm sorry.
True story.
His read just went up.
No, they won't.
I can.
So those are all the regular consent agenda items for the organizational meeting.
All right, can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda for the org meeting?
I'll move.
Second,
Any discussion? All right, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskovic.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Mr. B.
yes,
0, thank you.
And then can I get a motion to adjourn of the meeting?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskovic,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Yes.
Mr. B.
yes.
We are adjourning at 7:20.
Well done, well done.
Okay, so,
Keep, are you,
well, that's what I'm asking. This meeting's adjourned. We're still live on YouTube. Did we want to break for a moment for 10 minutes?
a 10-minute recess.
Yeah.
Right, so I will put this on pause, and then when we come back, we'll start the regular meeting.
Keep these pause it, mute it.
Yep.
Video.
Ready?
All right, yes, we're ready.
I'd like to follow the. You take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Here.
Mrs. Butler,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yeah, here.
Mrs. Kipling, here, still.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting?
I'll move.
Do we want to second it?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Can you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes?
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling.
Yes.
And then can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move.
I'll second. Any discussion? You take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes?
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Do we have any participation?
For agenda items, yes, Mrs. Reese.
Okay, come on down.
Get bored. So this is easy peasy this time, just a couple questions. For the bus driver, I was wondering, is a new or replacement situation? I just want to say congrats to the teachers for the advancement on the salary schedule. Love when they continue education and dedication. And the other question was for the long-term BMS ELL replacement, there's no step or salary information. And again, is that additional or replacement? Thank you.
Thank you. The superintendent's report.
All right, so. The superintendent's report. So let's start with league update. So we are in the TRC currently. We've had discussions about this before. I was at the county superintendent's meeting, it came up again. There's been several discussions across several different conferences. I just wanted to make the board aware. And we talked about this before because we are currently in TRC. The CBC approached us, invited us to join the CBC. That's Urbana, Tecumseh, London. It's about 8 to 10 minutes more travel time on average.
What does the CBC stand for? I'm sorry.
I think Capital Buckeye Conference, I believe. Central.
Central.
Central
yes.
Buckeye Conference, thank you.
I thought it's called CBC. Thanks, Casey. The, but
You're so helpful.
exactly. So but I think, so Damon has been talking to the TRC for few years now. And has been asking them, are we gonna bring more teams in, or gonna bring more teams in, and nothing really happened. There's a lot of Division 6 and 7 schools in that conference. Wow, they don't field freshman teams or JV teams. They don't have all the sports that we have. We're going to probably have more sports. They're not. And I think, the rationale was you can't expect kids to come play varsity ball and varsity athletics when they don't get to play freshman or JV. It's just very difficult. I think we see that in some of our athletic programs, right? So I think it's a good fit. I've talked to the coaches. In fact, CBC did their presentation in here. I came to that. There's all the athletic directors and principals. And I would say that, our administration and our athletic department, and our coaches, will say that it's a good idea for us to do. It makes sense for our kids, right? And, so, they invited us to join their conference. We've got a meeting tomorrow in my office with David and Barrett and talk about a few other things, it's logistics, but it makes sense for us to go. I don't see any benefit from us staying. They've asked me superintendents asked me, because, Miami East, Covington, that's going to, there's not very big. There's 800 kids, 2,600 kids. It's, it enables us to do more. And they feel the same athletics that we do. And we would be playing in similar sized school districts.
So what are the districts that are currently in that conference? Do you know?
Well, you've got London, Urbana, Tecumseh. Casey, can you help me with the
Sure,
CBC?
Jonathan Alder,
Alder,
North Union, we have Benjamin Logan.
Yep.
We have, El Fountain. We have.
Kenton Ridge.
Springfield Shawnee, Northwestern,
Kent Ridge is in
Kent
it.
Ridge.
Kenton
yeah,
Ridge,
A lot of Clark County.
yeah.
And this would take effect next year?
2 years.
2 years.
In 2 years, so you have 2 years to play it, but just, we would take effect in 2 years from now. But the bylaws are you have to let a conference know 2 years at a time, that's typical, right? And that's in fairness to them, because they may need to find a place or add people to their conference. So, 2 years from now, we'll be at like 3,000 kids, 2,800 kids, whatever that may be. And, it's, do you want to get better? I think, I equate it back to when I was at Green, we were in the suburban league, we did really well, and then we go to the playoffs and we get beat. And then we do really well, and we go to playoffs and get beat, and then and we always get beat by Kent McKinley or Massillon or somebody, right? I said, well, if you want to compete with them, join them, right? They moved to the federal league, and now they can, they had a few years where it didn't go so well, but they got better and better. Now they're winning the federal league. So I guess my point being is the bigger thing is what we all like here is the opportunity for our kids to play.
What
That's
do we
it
do
comes down
now if there's no other teams in the conference? for
What's
the-
that?
What do we do now for those teams that don't have other?
Well,
teams
David
in the
does the
conference?
best he can, but they don't play.
Yeah.
They just don't, I think some of our JV teams maybe got 4 games. Freshman teams may not get any.
Mhm.
It's just, and I think it's just, the culture, right? I'm a big fan of culture. If kids all are in something, I don't care what it is, but if you all belong to something, it makes things better for them, better for the community, better for the school, right? There's I don't know if it's a causation, but there's definitely correlation with kids and their activities and academics and things like that, right? So I think, with that being said, we'll have freshman games, we'll have JV games. But, we've got bowling and tennis and swimming, right? We got all that stuff. A lot of people don't have that in this conference. And then when you talk about playoff points, and when you're playing a Division 7 school, you don't get near the points you would if you were playing a Division 3 or 4 school. So it's been thought about, they've been talking about it for years. I know when I got here, it kind of got picked up, and not by my doing, just sort of got energized by the fact that, Dana's like, what are we doing here? Our kids aren't playing, we don't have enough, we're not building teams. And Casey, since you're here, you know that, right? We miss out on opportunities. And I just think, and, like I said, I didn't come in here and say, we're going to CBC. I think it was something that's, it's in the process, but we're sort of driving that bus now to do what's best for our kids. So they invited us in. I sent the letter over that we were interested. We were going to talk about it. They did their presentation. It's a 2-year notice to them. I need to let them know at the end of the month if we're coming, and then I'd like to present it to you in February, just for you to ratify that you're okay with it and we move forward. And then they put everything in place in March. But I wanted to let you know, we've talked about this before. I brought this up before. But now we're looking at taking action. So, you got questions about that, or the rationale behind it, or why? It
I
just
would-
makes good sense.
Just like to ask, have you done a paper study where, those schools are probably all big enough that they all have like that freshman and JV team that will continue, right?
Yeah, they're
That
not going.
They're not going to come and go, or
Now they're consistent. Like you look at London, they got a good program. I know they got the superintendent there. They got a good football program. I think we will beat them in some things, but they'll have everything that we have.
So is there, I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but, when the TRC, when that group, yeah, when they formed and some left and whatever, we were sort of a charter. Do we owe them anything more than just regular notification?
No, my understanding, we do not, but bylaws are 2-year notice and we were giving them 2-year notice. And they, like I said, they've had meetings about it, they know about it, I mean, it's no secret, it's out. I mean, you know, the superintendent's asked me point blank, you know, I don't know if you can tell, like, look, this isn't, you know, it's not, you know, cloak and dagger stuff, this is what we're trying to do is best for our kids.
And how have they responded? TRC, you know,
The
what
TRC,
has the
yeah.
comeback been?
According to Damon and Barrett, and what I got from the superintendents was, I understand. What they told me is, I understand, it makes sense. We always knew Bethel was leaving, it was a matter of when was Bethel leaving. Because we're bigger,
Because we're so big.
because we're so big,
Mhm.
you know, it says, and you know, the only thing, like, for example, Eric called me the other night from Miami, Superintendent Miami, he goes, we just need to know, right? So we can make our plans, right? And I said, I get that.
So there's been like no counter offer, if you will, to say, yeah, we're trying to get some bigger schools in, no, you know, no negotiating
No.
there to try to keep us at all.
No, I mean, they offered to bring, like, we could bring, maybe 1 or 2 schools in, but I just think, I mean, David's been asking for 3 years to beef up the, you know, to bring more schools, and it just didn't happen, and now all of a sudden, CBC approached us, and it makes sense for us. We're gonna go, and it was like, well, what are you doing, you know, I mean, it just, even if they brought schools in at this point, I just don't think it's the best fit for us, because you're still gonna have, you know, the people that are there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing against them at all.
Yeah,
It's just, they're just small. And they don't have the athletic programs that we have.
is CBC losing any schools that we're replacing? Like, are some growing out of it, or some
No,
leaving to go to another,
not at this point. No.
like,
They're
you
just-
know,
they're
that
just
showing
adding.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, and there has been some conversation of, you know, making maybe potentially more schools in the CBC. You know, that's up to the CBC.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
there's been some talk about bigger conferences and things like that, but ours has always been consistent. We would be in the CBC with London and, you know, Jonathan Alder and some of those. Which would be, maybe, be fun. It'll be interesting.
It'll be fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Everything's fine.
It will be fun.
And I checked the ticket prices with Sam. That was.
Yeah, and I do think you'll big, I mean, you want to talk money, ticket price, they'll probably bring bigger gates as well, because there's more people,
Mhm.
you know, so. But you know, I'm just excited about the fact that, I mean, do I think, you know, we're gonna, Bethel football's gonna top the Drado, they're gonna go in and win the CBC? Probably not. But it makes us better, right? We got a freshman team, an AV
But we'll
team.
have a JV scheduled where the
We will have a
JV
JV
players
schedule.
will actually get to play.
And
Yeah.
it's so frustrating for the kids and and the parents too,
Yeah.
because sometimes by Friday, they still don't know if they're playing on Saturday. And then depends on how many plays they get in
How
on
many get
Friday
hurt
night.
on Friday night?
Right.
Oh,
or
yeah,
if
they
have
get
to play
hurt
a
Friday, then
varsity,
they
and
can't play Saturday.
Or they get too much time and then,
And most of those schools have dedicated JV teams.
Yeah.
They just play on Saturday.
right. And they'll know every week that they'll have a
Yeah.
game.
You know, in soccer and softball, baseball, I mean, they've got it all, so. It makes sense.
So what would the furthest team be that we would play in the?
North Union?
Yeah, or Jonathan Alder.
Jonathan Alder.
I don't know.
Wait, so, like, the teams that are, yeah, it's not bad, I mean, Damon did, it's like 8 minutes more on average than what we do right now. Drive wise, but I mean, we wouldn't, like, North Union is in a different division. They're smaller, right? So maybe a crossover game, not a conference game. We're gonna play the
I don't know where that's at. I don't know where that's at. That's the only one I don't know.
North.
North Union.
North of Union? Okay.
So it's a smaller
Good
school.
recovery.
It's a smaller school. But anyway, so that's, I mean, I wanted to, I mean, you know, my plan is to have Damon come in and explain, you know, in February, you know, we're gonna ask you to say, hey, you know, we want you to, you know, sign off on this, but we're gonna let them know, but I wanted to let you know that that was our intention, why it's our intention, and we're for board approval in February. March, they would take action, we would start 2 years later. So that's the,
Would we be able to have any kind of scrimmages with any of those teams in the meantime, or is that not allowed?
sure, we can do that. If they, if the athletic
Yeah,
directors can
if they
set that
would,
up,
yeah,
if they want to set that up,
if they would want.
so.
So
I think there are several sports right now that we will compete in the CBC. I think that to be true.
So we would actually pick up those teams on schedules in the fall of 2027.
Yeah, so 27, 28 is
So
when we
20,
would have,
yeah.
so 24, 25, 25, 26 here, 27, 28, we go to the CBC.
So do you think that we?
So we got
added-
2 years to get in the waiver.
Yeah, yeah. You, it'll come back. To me. Do you think that we'll have any new sports being offered here? Like, do you know if they have like a lacrosse team or those kinds of things?
They have lacrosse, field hockey, I think that we have 3 sprint sports. I think. And if we were to add, I mean, we will probably add sports, right, as we go. And they will have, if there's nothing that we can add, they won't have, put that way. Because they're pretty established. They've been this size for a long time.
And our growth is okay, right? I mean, our growth won't throw us off or throw us out of the conference after we get into it.
No, I mean, we may be at one point with bigger schools in the CBC. That's okay, so.
It sounds good.
It does. I think, the athletic department's excited. I think, the coaches are cautiously excited. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Thrilled. Thrilled,
We need to do something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to, if there's any questions, let me know. I mean, like I said, I'll send the letter. I got to send it by the end of the month. And then, they seek, the board approval in February, and then they take us on at their board meeting, or at the commission. The conference. So. Good times.
Yeah.
So. That's the league update. Like I said, I'll keep you posted as it goes. School calendars. So I've got the rough draft of the school calendar already.
Nice. I
I got the rough draft of the school calendar for the next 2 years.
Nice.
Yes.
So when I give this to you, I'm fine tuning it with the calendar committee. But when I give it to you, hopefully next month, it'll be up for discussion and hopefully board approval, and we'll have 2 years of school calendar. I'm not to worry about it.
Beautiful.
Now, let me give you some rationale behind the school calendar, because that's rationale is always important to me. And I talked to Mindy and Casey, what did we meet last month?
Right before Christmas.
Yeah.
Right before Christmas. I said, need a calendar committee. They got on it. The calendar committee consisted of Mindy, Casey, Molly, a high school counselor. We had a high school technology, Chase Glay, who's the assistant AD, along with the intervention specialist. We had a middle school English teacher, third grade teacher, elementary IS, and a first grade. Met twice over the 2 hours. They sent a survey out to everybody. All right, did all that. Both student and teachers would meet after the county fair. So that starts still after the county fair. I mean, it's not.
So far, so good.
Science, but, it makes sense.
That's all you had to do to make it.
So,
2 weeks of Christmas, yeah.
so it's like, it's some of the highlights, and I'll give you the rationale along with the calendar, right? But I told you we weren't gonna wait till, we weren't doing what
Yeah.
I
Right.
came into. Can't do that. But I want to thank, I thank Mindy and Casey. Like I said, they went and got a nice cross section of people. And it was able to come to, because calendar committees, I've said, are always, I work year round. Do I care when you're here or not here, right? But it's important to understand why and when staff and kids should come to school, and understanding your community. Fair is one of them, right? So we've got first day back for students will be August 26th. there's some things where you give one day off on a Monday, so we don't bring back a full week, and stagger some of the little guys, you know what I mean? We've got work days per the negotiated agreement. At the end of the first and third quarter, there was a 2-hour early release. It was the same thing. We've split conference nights. You know, we've got early release during exams. You know, those are the big, you know, calendars have 182 days, 184 days mandated. You know, do the training. First semester has less days. The second semester, we have calamity days, state testing. We go by hours. We got plenty of time. And then again, you know, 26, 27, Thursday, August 27th, first day back for students. Again, after the fair, we've incorporated, you know, we discussed, we talked about it all the time. We do all those things that basically incorporates an entire district. It's all here. It's 2 years.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you
Thank you.
Thank you.
for this.
I didn't hear, he didn't say.
Yeah.
Graduation date and last day of school.
A little different. Graduation is probably sometime, it looks like the May. Mindy, did you adjust the 29th in May? Or was it
The 24th.
Next year would be the 24th of May is what's still open at Hobart.
Yes, so it'll be 24th of May next year for the 25, 26. And 26, 27, graduation. This is one I'm gonna tell Barrett to get, at 7:30 on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Which would be the 20. What date is it?
24th for next year.
Well, then, yeah, next year's the 24th.
The 26, 27. I can't see this.
It wasn't, they were not
They weren't scheduled out.
scheduled out that far.
Okay, so we can basically have any time.
Okay. But it's not ridiculously early like it is this year.
We get out like May, like
Ridiculously
18.
early.
Nuts. It's horrible.
It's ridiculously early.
It is. But I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
But you know, there's a lot of logic and rationale that went into this. We also worked around, like Chase was on there because we worked around the athletics, because it was softball and baseball that got messed up for spring breaks, right?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
So
with those alternate.
We tried to fix that. I mean, it's a well thought out schedule, so a lot of rationale to it.
Do you want it, he's got some good rationale for that. We didn't put it on here because I didn't have it at the time.
Yeah.
But why?
Well, so I spoke to Damon about the spring break issue. And,
Yeah.
he checked the OHSA rules, and so softball starts a week earlier every single year. Meaning they have their acclimation period, they can start playing games earlier than baseball. So as long as you follow the baseball schedule, softball's good to go. It's when you follow the softball schedule, because they're a week early, baseball can't play that early because they haven't had their acclimation period. So Damon said, always go by the baseball schedule.
So they'll both be able to go to Florida every year then, both softball and baseball?
Well, he said that, as far as I'm aware, softball hasn't really planned anything. So if we schedule spring break, they can plan it around our spring break, but they're good to go. But if we go by the softball schedule, baseball cannot do
Too
it
early
because
for
they haven't
baseball.
had stuff like that.
I think that's what they,
Yeah,
that one.
that's
time
what
I
happened
think they're gonna
last
have to
year.
alternate or something every other year, but.
So he said what we had.
It's good.
Oh, nice.
No, like I said, that, because that's what, I just don't think we talked that through
Right.
last time. I mean, we've had the calendar discussion already, we don't need to rehash it, but
Right.
yeah. But I mean, that was the whole rationale behind it, to put some thought into it, identify as many things as we could to make it better. Well, is it perfect? I'm sure somebody will have something wrong with it, but I mean, at the end of the day,
They'll
It
call
already
you.
sounds better.
they will. We did the best we could.
It doesn't matter what you put out, somebody's gonna
Right.
call you,
But
but
yeah, so I think that is, so that's good.
I love that it's starting after fair. It wasn't that hard to do, was it?
No,
Do you have a copy of that for each of us, or will that be just in the agenda for next month?
I'm gonna send it out to you, because
Perfect.
we're still tweaking a few dates and times, but I don't want to bring it up to your attention. It's pretty much finished. So
Okay,
now I'm gonna
great,
ask that you
super.
approve 2 years, so we're not
I like
doing each
it.
year.
Thank you.
Then parents can plan.
Right.
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Great job.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you both.
A plus.
Thank all the people that.
Yes,
participated.
all, thank you all.
Yeah.
A+ for the calendar committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was kind of on it.
And A plus
There you go. Well, that's what my part of the report.
We'll give him an A+. too.
My acclimated.
You know how group work is.
Yeah. Somebody got to
Somebody
learn.
get the A.
I'm sure I got the gold star here somewhere.
Yeah, but anyway, in speaking to that, the course descriptions are done at the high school,
Yay.
so they're
Wow,
finished.
that's awesome.
So, course description is done at the high school, and you'll get those for your approval as well, but they are finished. So those are good. And then, what I also want to tell you is, we talked about the planner, right? The educational planners from FMD, right? Come down here. So they were here. So they sent out, a survey to the entire staff, and I think you got it all as well, board members. And then they came out here and they interviewed people, and we walked the site, this and that, and then they took the prints, then they took the prints back and put them on their 3D printer, and came up with different, ways to possibly get extra room than where we have in the dead open space, right? And then he was out here, like I said, on the 30th, that Monday after Christmas, we were out here. And he basically walked in, it's interesting, there's places where rooms can be that there's just nothing, right? There's like empty space. He's like, okay, and there's some things on the prints where it shows there's a building, but there's not. I mean, there's like, so it was a good exercise, because there was like things that were there. I'm like, what about this? He goes, that's not there. I said, show me. So I got the prints, I'm walking and I go outside, it's like, it's snowing, it's not here. I'm like, okay, you're right, Tim. But,
Sounds like a situation.
it's a situation.
Yeah.
Exactly sounds like a situation.
But they would like to, I'm going to send you their document that they put together. And it's long, I mean, I can't print it off, right? But I want you to take a look at it and, really dig into it if you want, see what you think. They would like to come down and talk to you, as a board. They want to talk about OFCC, because they will launch an updated assessment enrollment, programs. That's all free to us. Okay. There may be some summer work that needs to be done, so sooner than later. So, they were looking at, somebody coming down sometime and they would like to do a work session. So our next work session is what, February?
February.
Well, we just established it, didn't we?
Two.
Yeah. Let's see, I updated, hopefully if this worked right, it updated automatically. So February 10th,
February
it's the
10th.
second Monday of February.
So,
at 6.
At 6.
That's it. Oh, boy.
when is it?
February 10th, 6 o'clock.
You call me and I'll call you.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
so-
gonna be like waiting for.
I mean, that's something they'd
February
like to
10th.
come down and talk to us about. I think that's a good work session item. That's probably gonna take a couple hours.
Yeah.
But it also gives you time to look at the document they prepared, so you're prepared with that time they get here.
And that's what they'll talk to, is a document that.
Talk to the document, they're gonna talk about launching the assessment, they're gonna talk about the enrollment projections, these are all 3 things from OFCC. They'll talk a little bit about, the ELP side of that, which you were part of.
We're
Yeah.
still 7 to 8 years out, right?
Well, we're gonna talk about that,
Yeah.
'cause somebody deferred it, and we don't know who did, we're gonna get to that too, but,
Wasn't me.
So, but, those are things, I mean, like I said, I think I'm gonna call them tomorrow, if you're okay with that. If that day's good, if they need to get here sooner, I'll let you know, but, I think if we can work out that work session, I think that would be good. And I'll send you the document, like I said. It's very interesting, and I think the feedback, like, I'm not gonna read all these documents, I'm gonna send it to you, but like I said, the feedback from them, which I thought was nice, was, hey, your staff should be commended, this is from them, right? Your staff should be commended for the quantity and thoroughness of the responses. There are a lot of people eager to help keep the conversation going everywhere, and everyone sees the need for updating the master plan. which the master planning is part of the strategic plan,
Mhm.
right? It's
Right.
all,
It all,
That's it.
yeah, interdependent.
yeah, attached is the more organized version, for you and the board to review. That's what I'm gonna send to you. We will work, condensing the comments into an executive summary, but I think you and the board should take the time, when you're able to see what people's thoughts are. Some are more operational than facilities, and the level of detail helps provide a deeper understanding where they are coming from as they share their thoughts. So,
Great document, check out.
so like, for example, this sign out front's a different color. Does anybody realize that?
Yeah.
Is that the one you just bought?
We want to know why it
Yeah.
got changed.
Yeah, we asked why it was changed, because it was changed without,
It had our nice bee on it and now it's
Yeah.
got the weird bee.
Why is that?
and it's ugly, and it
Is that
says
the-
Bethel.
That, my understanding is it was damaged and it had to be replaced.
Okay. Anyway, so that, I didn't notice, but I have teachers that'll tell me, can you fix
It's
the
the-
sign? And
yeah.
I'm like, I never noticed.
No, it's the wrong, it's,
Cause I'm not a detail guy, I'm a big
It's the
picture
wrong-
guy, right? I'm like,
it's bad. It's
It's-
not,
It's bad.
and it's bee Bethel.
Right.
If you're gonna use the
It's
bee,
Bethel.
make it Bethel. It's not Bethel.
Didn't realize everybody had strong feelings about that.
yeah, it's those kinds of things, see?
It's those
The
things.
big things we can handle, it's the little things that.
It's where's the bee? Where's,
So,
Richmond
but
has-
anyway, yeah, I think,
I saw it immediately.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, people tell me all the time, they're like,
But I always wonder about the elementary sign, it's always got burned out, you can see it now, burned out lights too. So whatever design they used on that was poorly planned as well. Always
it's
got
funny,
burned
so
out
I'll
lights.
get here in the morning, it's dark, and I walk down the hall,
Uh-huh,
and some of these middle school teachers are like, did you see the sign?
uh-huh.
I'm like, okay. And I go, okay, it's different. But we'll work on it. I mean, it's those kinds of things, right? That drives
It's a
people
little
crazy.
bit-
yeah,
I get
it's
it.
those kind of things that
It's
sends
like
you around the
those little
bend.
attention to detail kind of things that just like. come
But they're
on.
easy to fix. I mean, those are things that are like, oh,
But
okay,
there's
I didn't know. We'll
Always
fix
a
it.
bulb out, so like it's a poor design, I think, just in general,
Yeah,
of some part of that,
but
anyway.
yeah, I will call them, see if they'll come down for that work session, and I'll keep you posted, and I'll get that document to you, so. And we'll carry on from that side of it. Work session.
The two docs, right? You said we'll get the planning doc and then we'll get
You're-
the. condensed
You're gonna
version.
get the whole thing that they did.
Whole kit and
Oh,
caboodle,
It's
okay.
different tabs at the bottom, so I mean, it's
Gotcha.
like,
Am I getting it too? Come on.
okay, I don't know, I'll think about it.
See over there.
I get what you learned.
I'll send it to you, Tina. I'll send it to you when I send it to them.
Getting a little touchy.
So so that's the planner's course description. And I will, once we file the levy, then I will put the levy committee together. I'm looking at 2 or 3 tri-chairs of a committee. A couple of people, maybe from Bethel Township, one from Carriage Trails. And I'm also working with somebody in Carriage Trails, talk about signage and when they do the next phase of Carriage Trails, to put maybe some wider roads. And I mean, our buses have a hard time.
You
They can't
think?
plow, they can't.
They can't plow.
The snowstorm was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, right.
I could, I had kids that couldn't get to the bus.
but I think that's the way they plan those developments to get
Oh, yeah.
more help with things.
Well, there's a committee out there now that's going to the Huber Heights Council to
Good
talk
luck.
about it, because we were in conjunction, we've been talking back and forth. So, but, yeah, so we will do that, and then, a couple of shout outs, I like to call them, we had, I'm not gonna read everything, but we had, 5 students that will be performing in the Muse Machine, next weekend. So we talked a little bit about that. That's pretty cool. We've got, this is, I call this progress, right? Is it perfect? No. But at the middle school, for example, 91% of our middle school students earn a reward trip for the second 9 weeks. This means that students had 0 disciplinary issues during the tracking period to earn the reward. For comparison, this is the important part, right? For this, compared to the second 9 weeks of last school year, yielded 256 discipline referrals. Why this year at the same time has only resulted in 145 referrals. So we're at a 45% reduction in discipline at the middle school.
Beautiful.
So is it perfect? No. I mean, are we a little more vigilant and out? Yes.
It's trending, right?
Right.
We're going the right way. I mean,
Yeah.
can it get better? Yes, but for what it's worth, I mean, that's gives you some data. So, and then, you know, we had several students of the month that were recognized, 2 pages of them, little guys in elementary. So congratulations to all them. And I think, you know, as I've said, all of this that we talk about and we work towards, you know, the calendar, 2-year calendar, the building planners, the athletics, the curriculum, it's all part of that strategic plan, right? A strategic plan is our mission, right? It's gonna include the statements of what we want to do. I will help everybody run this, but it's going to include community members and staff and board. It's a complex document. It's not done overnight. I would like to see it done by the end of the school year, in the summer,
Yeah.
and that would drive decisions, right?
Yeah.
So we don't make decisions without knowing why.
Right.
And we don't put things somewhere where we have to remove them later.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, it's that kind of stuff, you know? So, makes sense to me, but, you know, it will guide us, we'll get input from stakeholders. I mean, there's gonna be some, you know, long nights. I told Shelley, I said, you know, I know you're not a huge fan of overtime maybe, but you know, get overtime. So, might be some long nights and some things where, because, you know, Shelley does a lot. Like she put all this stuff together, obviously, but I mean, there's gonna be times where she's gonna be at meetings, taking notes and, you know, driving things and scheduling meetings for people and different committees and things like that. So, you know, I appreciate that. And like I said, it's just been one of those things where it's an exciting time. It is an enjoyable time. We're gonna have discussions, obviously, but I mean, this is fun stuff. It really is. So, you know,
Yep.
embrace it, enjoy it. Been through it before. I think you all love it, but I think we're moving in the right direction. So, and other than that, I got important dates. And like I said, January 20th, CTC's closed, we're closed. Parent teacher conferences are February 6th. Scheduling night is February 6th. And yes, I know. We'll make sure that goes well. I had some questions too. Midterm remote learning day is February 7th for CTC, and then we are closed February 17th for President's Day. And then obviously we've got our new board meeting schedule. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, do you think that we'll also see the handbook coming soon then too, since you're doing all that other stuff? Is that-
It will all be here in good time. I would say you should have schedules, handbooks, courses of study. I think you should have all that in front of you for board approval, all of it, no later than March.
Ouch.
And for the high school course descriptions, did they go through that and analyze like what courses are being taken, if they need to add sections or if they need to remove courses that aren't being taken and update that? And
Yeah, so the guidance counselors looked at that, like who's taking what, you know,
Yeah.
what's important, what do we need to add more sections of
Mhm.
this or that, right?
Right.
And they did take that all into consideration. What you're not gonna see is like the fees and, you know, we're just gonna
Right.
produce a fee schedule at some
Right.
point, but cause last year it was all
Mm-hmm.
messed up. So I painfully remember.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's a cleaned out version of that, and it's basically, it's content, right? It's what we're offering. And so I
Right.
think they.
But are we taking away classes that
That
aren't being?
nobody uses,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cleaning that up.
Cleaning that up. Well, we have things to add to, right?
Perfect.
I
Great.
think, I think we need to, you know, we need to beef up the curriculum. I don't think that's, you know, I don't need seniors sitting around, you know, leaving at 10 or 5 study halls or whatever, right? I mean, there's some really cool things that you can do and teach.
Mhm.
We just have to get there. So, but I mean, for the most part, I think, like I said, we're trending the right way. I think we are, looking at some different offerings and, you know, down the road, I think we'll do exciting stuff for kids that keeps them interested. You know, the goal is to have classes you gotta close, right?
Mhm.
People do want in them.
Absolutely.
And that makes them excited, and then you add a section or here or there
Mhm.
of that. So I think that's good stuff. So that's, yeah, I'm like I said, I can't. It drives me nuts when, like I said, when we don't have stuff.
Right.
We're working on stuff in the summer for that year.
Yes.
Have we done any kind of survey of the students for what kind of classes they would like to have?
You know, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I would guess not. Casey, have we done any high school surveys for what kids would like to
I'm
have?
sorry, I wasn't listening.
So before I ask you that question, Casey, what I would say is, my guess is now, Casey's teaching high school, obviously he may know, but I think they talk to, the guidance counselor talk to people. I think you look at how many people have taken a class, right? I mean, we did this last year. I had people remove sections and tell, you know, it was like, you got 2 kids in that class. I can't teach
Not
them.
doing that,
I'm
right?
like, why not? I said, because we're not doing it. And I was like, makes no sense. But do we give a survey out at that wasn't high school. And did we give a survey out to kids about what they would like to take in our course offering? Did we
Yeah,
do that?
so what happens is the counselors they come into English classes, because that's the only
Common.
subject where it's grade bands. So,
Yeah.
you know, you'll have all sophomores in there, all juniors in there, which still makes sense. They will have kids, they go over the course of study, they talk about graduation requirements, all that good stuff. The kids will fill out a request sheet for next year. They will take those back, plan everything, and then they come back one more day for like 15 minutes. And they actually have the kids upload. That's like the official request, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they do, I guess.
Well,
But
my
do
question
they
is,
ask them what kind,
They want.
if you just look through this,
like, do you
what would
want,
you like to
who wants
see?
to, right, anybody wants to
I have
type
no
on,
idea,
you know?
Yeah.
That'd be a question, Catherine, but it's a conversational. I don't know if they asked that specific question, but I think kids would more than likely say stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
They would respond to that kind of survey, I think.
Mhm.
If-
survey,
Yes.
if that makes sense. But yeah, I think they know what's good.
Yeah, they know, I'd like to fly a drone, or I'd like to do podcasting, or I'd like to,
Well,
you know.
yeah, I mean, I did talk to a guy that does drone classes. He did it at Tolls. You know, I talked about that.
You can make good money when
I
you just
just-
fly your drone.
Yeah, until they start shooting them out of the sky.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, you learn that you shouldn't fly your drone.
Not during a wildfire.
But yeah.
But,
Exactly. But I think, I mean, to your point, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, unfortunately, if we haven't got to that point, we're not there yet, but we will be. I mean, like, I think, the podcasting class is a perfect example, right? Kids responded, they talked to Jake, we'd like to do this. He came to me, talked to Jason, I said, let's make this happen. We made it happen. You know, I had 4 kids and now he's got, you know, I don't know, 12, 14 kids. I didn't know the people want in it. It's gonna become a class, right? So at some point, I think that those are the types of things. You know, what do you want to do? What do you want to learn?
Mhm.
But it has to be something that is gonna be worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
Something you like, not, you know, Fortnite or, you know.
Right, but I mean,
No.
kids,
But I think
if
to your
kids want to
point,
learn Python, I think that's a great thing, you know, to learn a programming language, or if they want to learn, you
right,
know.
no, I do, I agree, I think, like I said,
Yeah.
I've said all along, the
Yeah.
curriculum can be beefed up a bit.
Yeah.
And not so much that it's bad, it's just you need to change,
It
With
gets
time.
stale,
Yeah.
it gets stale.
Yeah.
so.
More like pushing it in the 21st century, like what they're gonna be getting into.
Right.
you know,
They want some exciting
Yes.
things.
That's why,
Hands-on stuff,
that's why I asked,
project-based,
you know, for,
I mean, That's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the little minds
What
have to be
excites
stimulated
them.
like 24/7
Yeah.
now because of everything.
Oh, yeah.
I just need to know how much it costs. Great feedback, and it wouldn't be weird.
I mean, you're gonna get some weird
Yeah,
stuff,
but-
but you know, but again, but you start to look at trends and,
Mhm.
and stuff like that, what makes sense.
And then see how they can apply it to do.
Absolutely.
Maybe they want a pickleball class.
It's a good thing for a phys ed class.
Yes.
You know?
What, so the strat plan, that you think the timeline that we wrap it up to be done by the end of the summer?
I would like to see it done by end of summer.
So we have like a kickoff starting in the next month or two?
Yeah,
Is
we're
that
gonna
right?
start to address it in, like, at the end of this month. I want them to come, I want FMD to get down here. I think that's a big part of it,
Right.
right? I'll start to organize some things at the end of the month. Then there's different committees, right? You gotta identify your stakeholders and, you know, you gotta set up meetings they're usually in the evenings. Cause people work,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, it is what it is. And then, you know, we get the agenda together, we talk about the different, you know, and it's good feedback, right? It's great feedback from staff, community, parents, kids, put some kids on it, you know, kids are smart, you listen to them. I learned a lot in the hallway, just listening to sixth graders go by. I go, hey, what's that mean? They tell me, I'm like, oh, I got it. My kids are out of the house, so I don't know the lingo. Like, what does that mean? So, but so that timeline is that, you know, end of the month, we'll start to organize it, we'll get them down here in February, and we'll start to have those meetings throughout the rest of the school year in the summer. And hopefully by the start of next school year, we've got a guiding document. So, and, you know, like I said, there's no need to pay somebody to come do a strategic plan. I've done it before, and they'll charge you 20, 30,000, and they'll make it all work anyway.
And they're just gonna use AI.
They're gonna say
anyway.
hey,
They're
you
just
set
gonna-
up this meeting,
we can do
you set up
that.
this meeting, I'm like.
They're just gonna feed it into Chat GPT, all the work we've done, right, and give it to us for 30,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Change the name
You
to the
know,
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plug the same
So
thing.
I'll
in.
just Chat GPT it ourselves.
Copilot, I like Copilot better.
Copilot is good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, and then that is all I have, and it's Seals, Carrie, and Bear. Great,
Yep, and I already sent the email.
thank you. All right, that's all I have.
Okay.
On important dates. We're closed. Next scheduled regular meeting,
So it just goes to Tuesday.
so it goes to Tuesday, okay.
So that's one of the two.
Well, there you go, right off the bat.
But we do that, we do presents, yeah,
Yeah.
but
We'll
thank you.
make it February.
But the work session is still on.
Yes, February 10th and February 18th now. Got it.
Just
There is
clarify,
no treasurer's
Thank you.
report this month, because it's a calendar year end, and I'm going to make sure I have all my 1099s done right and everything before I close December. January's open, so we're doing some January business, but I'm still working in December to get things balanced and ready to go. So it's calendar year and a few extra steps, and I just want to be super detailed and pay attention to that stuff. But they will be available to you as soon as they're there.
Thank you. Do we upload back into this sometime, or will you put it in next?
I'll
month?
put them in next for you guys, but I'll also send it to you.
Okay. Great, classified personnel.
Okay, I'd like the board to approve these, item A, sub Kenneth Brown, sub bus driver, 18.15 an hour. And there you go.
So can I get a motion then, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for classified personnel?
I'll move.
Anybody want to-
second,
Any discussion?
So about how many, do we always need a sub? I'm just curious, it's like how many hours our subs are getting on buses?
We don't, we use them all. Like yesterday I was at an IEP meeting, like, for example, we had to sign a sub to a van for probably 6 weeks. Because a kid had broken his leg, and it was you know, things so there are things like, I mean, we have kids that live other places under special ed, where we have to
Right.
pick them up, and, you know, things like that. It doesn't mean that they're here all the time. We'll pay them if they come, some subs come in, we'll be able to pay them if they work. But we use them. I mean, people get sick, people call off, people,
I just wasn't sure, like,
Yeah.
are we using subs pretty much daily? Or
Yes.
are we, okay, we're still kind of in that.
well, I mean, we have our routes covered, right? And then-
Mhm.
which is nice, and if somebody gets
They
sick.
must have changed a route, because I got behind a bus today that doesn't usually go that way.
Who can't you get?
So,
Yeah, but it's, we got our main routes covered, but then we've got I mean, we got a bunch of midday routes, we've got special ed
Mhm.
routes, we've got homeless route, we got.
Mm,
a
I
lot
was
of
just
stuff going
curious.
on.
I was just curious about that, about that.
So,
I'm sorry, apologize, did you say, did he, I thought I looked, but I'm not 100% sure. He's a brand new bus driver, right? So he's gotta be trained, or did he have any experience?
Kenneth,
Yeah. Sorry.
it's okay.
I just wondered if he had completed his, studies, if you will, his, driver's training with, Gail. Or if he had some,
And they have to have their CDL already to be, obviously, to apply, correct?
Yeah, they have to, but they still have to, like, they have to do a ride along.
Right,
and
we're
things
right
like that.
along and all that.
well, that's okay.
Yeah, here's his it doesn't say,
It does say.
I-
I mean, he's got a CDL, it doesn't say like if he needs training or not training, I pretty much
Yeah.
leave it up to Jacob, but.
Yeah, ideally, we want to hire them before we start training them, because if they have an accident, we want to make sure they're covered with
Okay.
liability insurance. I know that's not what has been done in the past, but we are trying to fix that. Jacob and I had a discussion about that. So yeah, they need to be hired before we put them in our buses, so they're covered with our liability insurance.
Seems smart.
I like that.
So they will continue to, and they get paid for their training time as well. So we want to make sure that we have them legally as employees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier there were, I hadn't thought about that, but the reason I was asking is, just how soon they can be available to help as a
Mhm.
resource.
Yeah, they usually it's pretty quick, once they get their, get the onboard instructor training, if they got their CDL, obviously they get their onboard, they do their ride along, they're good to go usually.
Yeah.
So, and we've got our own OBI instructor finder, which is nice. So one of our drivers did the training. which is- Oh,
Thank you.
welcome.
Any more discussion? Can you take a roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes,
Mrs. Skipwith?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'd like the board to recommend the board to certified personnel. We've got Cindy Gerben, these are just increasing in steps, one from BS step 11 to BS plus 150. Community Hughes BS 150 to Master step 14. Megan Russ BS step 7, Master step 7. Samantha Stevens Master step 9 to Master step plus 15. And then like the board to approve the substitute teacher list. Which is, we do every month. Kind of dwindles sometimes. And this is our substitute. So this substitute, Amber Weldon is the substitute for Ashley Lou, who's going on maternity leave in February. So that's who that is. And she's, I don't know when she's leaving for sure yet, but she's going in February.
And she's a young undergrad student working towards getting her degree, and then is she's not like a teacher's what's the word I'm looking, it's not like an apprentice, like I'm thinking of the right, what do they call that, teacher?
Student teacher?
Teacher and learning.
Teacher in training,
Training,
student
yeah.
teacher. No, she's actually gonna just be a substitute for the ELL for Ashley. Ashley Blue's the ELL teacher.
Yeah.
She's going on maternity leave.
But she doesn't have her teaching degree yet, is what I took away from her.
Yeah, she has,
information.
she's a long-term sub. Let's see, experience, current district.
She's in a district in, looks like.
I'm sorry.
looks like she's at
So I bring all their information.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's a.
Yeah, she's she's from Sinclair.
Mhm.
Yeah. But she's working on her degree, so, I just wondered if she was trying to if it was gonna allow her to get some of her hours that she needs towards teaching, I guess is the question I was
Yeah, so-
asking. And
so-
I didn't know how to phrase that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so what, like Mindy and I talked about, like Mindy has a student teacher in a classroom, right? So that lady has her certification to teach, she can teach in Mindy's class.
Yeah.
And this lady, if you're teaching, if you're in class 5 days a week, you can't go teach other places, right? Some get paid, but at the same time, if you are, like, for example, she's not getting in her classes, right? She's actually getting sub.
Yeah.
So she would get paid the sub rate,
Right.
daily sub rate, but it does help her.
Yeah.
And usually those people are pretty good too. I mean, they're right out of college and, ELL's hard for us to cover
Mhm.
sometimes because we got
Yeah.
a lot of it.
So will she go on the pay scale where she comes in and she has to work 120
Yes.
days? Okay.
It'll be 30, then 60,
60.
then the 61st day she gets placed on the teacher's schedule.
I always forget.
Yes.
It's more than it is. Sorry about that. That's why I
That's
asked.
required by law, and I think it's what, 125, 225, and then teacher schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like we
Mhm.
talked
What you
about before.
approved, yes.
Just can't remember.
Will
Thank
she be
you.
here through the end of do we anticipate her to be here through the end of the school year?
I can't. If I was a betting man, yes.
Okay.
I don't think she'll be back
This year.
this school year.
Okay.
But-
But we don't know.
I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
If she's watching that, I want her to say, I said that.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Take her back as soon as she's ready.
I don't get involved in that one.
All right, can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda for certified personnel?
Yes, I'll move.
Any more discussion? You take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
This is a lot.
Here's a few comments. There's a lot here. Alright.
I know.
So, yeah, I'm trying, like I said, this is the first reading from 2024. So I'm trying to get, I'm throwing a lot of policy at you because when I got here, we were behind, right? So I'm getting caught up. So, there's still a lot. I mean, you've had these, but you've only had them for a few days, right? You could put your policy committee in place and you could take these home. We could do them again on February's meeting and then do them again in March. I mean, they're already late. There's nothing, I don't
Yeah.
think, there's nothing, you were in on some of these.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so there's nothing time sensitive on these, I don't think that are. Yeah. I will highlight a couple
There
things
might
to
be on
think
the
about.
Edgar revisions, but. Yeah. The grant stuff.
Yeah, well, this here is just a sheet that is for Neola. I mean, we say it and they take it. But you've got, so here's all the policy. This page here,
Look at that tree you can.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
crazy line.
I read it, that was so
and my
much.
phone, and my phone quit last night too, so I mean, guess what? It didn't matter, cause I had everything on paper.
Yeah.
So-
You retain it better if you read it on paper.
That's right.
Well, it's
Exactly.
not rescinded, so that's good.
But yeah, but this one is the overview and comment. So these are takes the definitions basically, and just gives you a briefing, right? And so then you go into the regular policy and, green is new, red is old. The enrollment, for example, the enrollment and wrap back, everybody has to do it now. That's new. Some of these things, there's no choice. Like some of you see that are rescinded altogether. There's just like board officers, there's a new officer policy in place. It all makes sense when you go through it. I mean, we would be here till 3 in the morning. When we went through it, but I wanted to highlight a few things. The other one is the cell phone policy. We took a middle of the road stand on cell phone policy. I don't care either way. You can, like, I think the elementary doesn't use them, right? The elementary doesn't use them at all. Middle school uses them at lunch. High school uses them at lunch and
all the other time too.
then
Mm,
we
whenever
have
they
between.
want.
So,
They use them all day.
so I will tell you this. I'm okay if you want to change the cell phone policy. We went, we addressed some of it. Do I think it's better? Yes. Do I think it's perfect? No. If you want to go all or nothing, I'm fine with that. Just understand that you're probably gonna have some public participation about cell phones. I've had some knockdown, drag out fights with parents when their cell phones have been taken and they come back to get them. And I won't go into all the things they said to me, but, I've asked them to leave the building. I said, you're gonna have to leave. And, they are highly upset. So understand that as long as you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. I got no problem, but I think, we tried to do, hybrid, if you will, from, the wild, wild west of cell phones to rein them in, but I don't think that we have achieved that. So I think the elementary does a pretty good job, but that's because you just don't do them. Middle school and high school, you're allowed to have them, and then that,
It's, yeah,
that
it's
It's
a,
a slippery
line,
slope.
it's
it's a sliding, it's
Sliding
a
scale.
sliding,
You can't.
you can't,
Mhm.
but if you read about the area schools that have instituted, I mean, they went hard.
It's hard.
They went hard in Fairborn and in
Yep.
these schools, and the pushback was greater from the parents and the kids.
Mhm.
Oh, it will be.
And the kids in Springfield I wish I would have saved it, they did a thing where they had like 4 or 5 kids talking about, and in the beginning, we thought it would suck. But really, we like it better. I mean, we realize it's better, so, yeah, there's gonna be pushback, but at some point, you have to say,
It's just too
I mean,
much.
is that a hill you want to die on? I mean, and I think it could be, right?
I'll
I mean,
die on
I'll
that
die
hill.
on
I think I don't like, well, I don't even have social media, but it's like, I don't think they're good. I think there's really nothing good that comes of it.
I don't like the middle of the road. I mean, like,
Yeah,
It's-
it's ineffective.
it is ineffective, and I agree, I have friends that are in Fairborn
Mhm.
and Trotwood, and they do not have them in their higher grades, and they said it's been wonderful.
You wanna curb bullying,
Yeah.
get the cell phones out of the school every single day,
Mhm.
and classroom,
So
you know.
my
if-
question about the cell phone policy and any other policy
Uh-huh.
as it relates, but, so if we have a Neola policy and then we have our handbook, is the handbook always going to trump Neola, or do we have to
When you
make
approve-
them match?
When you approve the handbook, well, they should match, right? I mean, when you
Okay.
approve the handbook, it's a policy.
I understand that, but I'm just asking, like, so, here's Neola, and then then here we are, so we can.
So the answer to that is let's say Neola sends out a new policy and we don't adopt it yet, but we put a policy in our handbook, that's a policy. But if Neola sends one of these updates and we do it, well, we can't have 2 policies, right?
Right,
So
well, that's
you-
my question. So Neola has this cell phone policy.
Yeah, it's in here.
Right, I saw it.
And if you see my notes, here, see, I wrote this is long before this
Right.
meeting.
Yeah,
And
but.
I said cell phone policy, I said communicate to parents,
Mhm,
because if that's what we want to do,
right,
what we're not gonna do is just start taking phones. We're gonna
correct,
send
correct. It's gotta be,
We're gonna
it's
send
gonna
communication
happen.
out to the parents and say, listen, this is what we're doing.
right.
Any questions, let us know, but this is what we're doing.
Mhm.
You need to have them gone.
And it's not a Neola Neola is just the service provider. It's a Bethel policy. It's our policy. So even though they have like the drop downs and stuff, if there's more that we want to add to it, then we
But there's certain things that Neola gives us that incorporates the higher revised code.
Mhm.
Right, so
Yeah, and
so
then
we
they
wanna
won't
make
put the
sure we
stamp
have
on it,
that,
and then they
and
won't-
then you can say,
Right,
as long as you're not messing with the code, right?
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, as
You
long
can
as you're still
have-
following the law.
Yeah.
Or, as long as they're still willing to put their stamp on it. And as long as we're following the law, I guess, we can have their stamp on it, but it's a service. So, yeah, I would look at it the same way that the handbook should be written off policy. So that.
So
should
we're
be-
gonna start with Neola, and then we're gonna,
And then
put
it
that-
should trickle down.
Mhm.
And maybe, I think the handbook though gets a little bit more detailed, right? Is it kind of like an administrative guide? Would you kind of?
No, I think it's, I put some things in the handbooks that I think helped us greatly this past year.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, I don't necessarily think they're guidelines, they're policies, you know, that's a policy, it goes in the handbook. My administrative guidelines, like I've spoken that before, that's kind of where I live. How do I administer the policy? You know, and that, and there's a lot of ways to administer a policy, and that's up to me and the guidelines, but the policy is the policy. So, yeah, I just think my recommendation would be to read them, you know, and go over them and maybe, you know, think about it. I mean, like I said, I don't think there's anything timely in here, as far, we're already behind, we'll catch up, but take it and we can put it out to the policy committee. We can put it up for the official first reading, if you will. February, and then we keep it in March. But that is, and then when you get to, and you know, I will give you my 2 cents on these, the UGG and Edgar revisions, all right? You know, UGG is universal grant guidance.
That's how I feel about it.
And Edgar is the electronic data gathering analysis retrieval system.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Which is online to enter data, and I would basically say, I mean, obviously this is Tina's field, but I would say this, before Tina wants to talk to him. Basically, you don't mess with these, because if you mess with them, you don't get federal money.
Exactly.
Oh,
So these are really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
You have to do it, I have to do it, you know.
Anyway, that's
That's-
UGG and Edgar.
so we
You
played
shall.
ball with Edgar.
Yeah. We can leave those on as first reading, right? And then bring them back next month as second reading? That
That's
works?
fine with me. If you want to go order them, you can. I mean, like I said, you bring them back as first
I
reading.
don't know how much.
But that's basically what they are. They're necessary.
UGG is appropriate.
Like-
Edgar, I'm not really that sure.
UGG is
Sorry, my
appropriate.
mother was trying to FaceTime me again, so I had to send her if she doesn't know it, to stop. She could keep calling me. So I answer, I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna.
So we're good with that plan to policy, right?
Yeah.
And then, the income tax, the resolution to proceed.
As we discussed last month, we passed the first resolution for the income tax. Or declaring urgent necessity. This is the second resolution, and it is the final, right? I sent the first one off to the Ohio Department of Taxation. And then that resolution, the Ohio Department of Taxation certification. And this resolution will be filed with the Miami County Board of
Board of
Elections. So,
We'll
which
send the
has to
data.
be done by February 8th, but, you know, I will probably do that
Tomorrow.
once I get a board resolution number.
Get
So,
that.
yeah,
We'll
once
get
we get the resolution number, we can go,
That to you.
submit it, yeah. So it is for the same amount for 0.75%, 0.75%, as we discussed. Will go on the May 6, 2025, ballot. It's a renewal, and it's a straight renewal because it is just for a 5-year period of time, just as this one that is ending December 31st, 2025. So, passes in May, hopefully. Then we will start collections January 2026, and there will be no downtime for the income tax. Yeah, no break in the revenue. So, that's all I have.
Right, so can I get a motion then to approve the resolution to proceed? For the May 2025 ballot?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Will you call roll, please?
Uh-oh, now you're going faster than me. I might have to learn shorthand again. Mrs.
Need
Leskowitz,
to hear the voice.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue. Yes. Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yeah.
5-0. Thank you.
Ah,
All right, now we have our BEA update.
Tell me, it's in weather.
Official.
Get it?
Even took time off, right?
Tell me about it.
First foremost, I'd like to thank the BEA members that did volunteer to work on the committee.
Thank you.
We spent several hours, great discussion, and really took into effect what was best for students in that. So a lot of deep discussion, and also those that answered our survey, because that helped guide it. And of course, we had some non-negotiables.
We did.
that we had discussed with Mr. Nutter, and they made sense, but you know, it's things that would, are common sense to me and to us. You know, so, it went well. So we're looking forward to, I know we've got evaluations to start working on too.
Yep.
So that'll be our next big event. And then, of course, all these committees that are coming up, and hopefully get some members and get them driving, and hopefully we can help support and get information out on that levy for everyone.
Yep.
So, and I would tell you had some very, very happy staff members Friday before break with getting those stipends.
Oh, good.
They were ecstatic and very happy and appreciative, and hopefully we'll get more members. We don't have very many that need to finish up,
I
really.
think it's less than 10, isn't it?
Right around here, so
Yeah.
15,
Well
because
done.
some of them have been working on it since then, realizing, oh, hey, so I'm gonna put out a feeler and hopefully maybe before spring break, get those other people done and get them that stipend and
Yes.
hopefully get them all finished, so.
Because we've,
It's
I
doing one more
submitted.
batch.
the reimbursement.
Yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell them we're doing one more batch. If you wanna get paid, get it done
Well
by,
done.
I'm done
Super.
the end of February, so.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
Awesome.
all right, thank you guys.
Thank you for your.
Yeah, thanks again for the calendar.
Yeah,
Like I
you're
said,
welcome.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Kate.
For you, man.
There. I thought it made sense to me, right? You guys know better than I do. You're in the trenches. Give me something that makes sense.
Right.
Right, facilities committee?
I think Mike already talked about that.
Sorry. I screwed that up.
No.
Right.
Right, so we're good. Liaison reports, OSBA.
Didn't think they were doing that anymore.
Oh, well, it's on the agenda, so, oh, that's right, nobody did anything, right? So,
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. And then public participation?
Wait, I do want to say something.
See, there we go.
Shout out to Mikey Halleck for his 1,000 points.
Oh, that's right. Todd just hung that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, got it. And a lot of people have been doing things, but I just want to say that's a lot of work. Congratulations.
That's a lot of
Mike.
points.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, a lot of ball.
Well done. Okay, now we're not doing it.
Okay. Okay, we got public participation, Ms. Julie?
Close us down here,
Yeah.
Julie.
Take us home, Julie.
Close us down, take us home.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
not a good evening for me, as you said. Sigh. Okay,
Who said that?
you said that earlier that I wouldn't be happy with something right.
Oh,
So I am disappointed that the board chose to stay with the same president. President's responsibilities are basically to run the meeting, sign the paperwork, and encourage the board to operate as a board, not as individuals. In my opinion, Mrs. Leskowitz oversteps these duties. There seems to be an abundance of discussion leading to decisions being agreed upon outside of the public arena prior to the meeting even being held. Whether the sunshine laws are followed, and more importantly, the spirit of the sunshine laws is followed or not, is driven by the board president and the superintendent. A fellow board member was willing to step up. I hope next year you consider a change. Next, I have a little history on the liaisons. I don't know if you guys ever want to hear this stuff or not, but sometimes it's nice to
Yes.
know how
Yeah.
things
I
are,
like
where
it.
they are.
you can learn from it.
So, so the student activities liaison started as an athletics liaison. So the board would receive updates on what the boosters were doing and if they needed anything. The name morphed because it left out the music booster, so, the person who was doing it at the time was more into athletics. But it was not meant to be a report of what went on at the school. The liaison job was to report back to the board to share the knowledge that all board members would not normally be exposed to. Like, I never went to an athletic boosters meeting, right?
Yeah.
For the technology liaison, I think I've kind of told you about this before, but I was that person because I'm a geek. But I went to the meetings held by the technology director and attended by the teachers, and then again, reported back to the board a summary of the meeting just to keep the board up to date because only I went.
Right.
So, and those meetings were quarterly, not twice a month. So, and we did try to start a finance committee in the past, with a mix that was similar to what Mrs. Hageman mentioned. So some board members, some teachers, some community members, and it just never came to fruition. But that plan was also to meet quarterly. So just for history. We already found out about the board compensation. Okay. So work sessions in the past, here's some more history, have included discussion on items that do not need to be voted. The meetings were not just used to build the agendas for the following meeting. And also the superintendent, treasurer, or any board member was able to bring any topic to a work session. So that was the place where you could come and discuss whatever needed being discussed. So this is my opinion, taking away the work sessions takes away the board's ability to discuss in public as a group the why of the items, and takes away the time between the work session and the regular meeting for board members to digest and think about the pros and cons of the items before voting. Having work session discussion also gives the public a better perspective as to why the board votes the way they vote. I think this item, the item that acts half the work sessions, is a case in point. No time to go away and think about the impact, good or bad, that reducing the number of meetings may have. If you are worried about looking like you are rubber stamping anything, just give a 10 to 15-second explanation of what was considered, why options were rejected, and any highlights of the item as you are reading the item or during the discussion phase after monitoring during the regular meeting. And a couple of other points, because we have tried this in the past. For those board members that are not up at the school all the time, it puts a lot of distance between meetings when you start canceling, the second one. And it also affects the communications model for the board. Less face-to-face discussion typically means more calls to the superintendent, which means all the board members are not receiving the same information. And also in that case, the public would get even less information because now it becomes a phone call rather than discussing in public. So I think tonight's discussion about switching to the CBC is a great example of discussing the item in advance and not voting on it right away. Now you guys will have a chance to mull it over and ask additional questions before making a decision on that. And I hear you guys about setting thresholds based on how comfortable you are with your administrators. However, don't laugh. All resolutions have to be looked at from a legal perspective with potential liability considered. I was not saying that anyone here would abuse the policy, but the board has to set up the district to have recourse if ever it is needed. So that's why I brought up the example, because So, and then just one last question. I was wondering if you think a stricter cell phone policy has contributed to the 45% reduction in the discipline referrals. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thanks,
Thank
Julie.
you. No executive session this evening. And so can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move.
No second. Any discussion? Will you call a roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
We are adjourning. I don't know. It's 8:47.
8:47. Two meetings, 8:47. We're fast.
We're learning.
It's not a half an hour, but they did.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Half hour.
in the video, in the, stop the share.